Windows NT, there will be, let's try it again. Nope, I can't type. Here, Windows NT, there's going to be a profile list, right? And each one of these, all the goods will be listed under profile list. And inside there, the image path will tell you the location of that profile, right?
Okay.
So you can find which one you're looking for by pulling the profile image path, right? And finding the user that we're logged in with right now. So we can be like, okay, who's my user? I'm Greenlight. Okay, so Greenlight is my profile path to users Greenlight. This is the SID I'm looking for. And under HK users, you're going to find the same SID that ends in, 2731156, which is right here, right?
So I know with a script, you can do like check if user logged in and then execute a shell command in that. I forgot.
Yeah, so that's in the LabTech script. With a remote monitor, everything that I'm talking about, if you want to build this into a remote monitor, it's going to have to be PowerShell. It's going to have to be a PowerShell remote monitor, and the PowerShell is going to be doing all the heavy lifting for you.
So I have to do the script. I have to do the script method to target the current logged in user.
If you want to do it via script, but even PowerShell, I mean, you can get a little crazy because let me just launch an admin. There's like Q user you can run to see which one is currently logged in. You can find the arrow, which will indicate the current logged on console session, which will give you the username right after that. Okay, so you use PowerShell to execute Q user or a similar command to then identify who's logged into console, grab that first set of characters, parse that name into PowerShell, and then from there you can use PowerShell to query the registry. So software, I'm going to need double quotes actually. Software, Microsoft, Windows NT, right? And then profile list or something. Let's see if this works real quick. I made a mistake somewhere in typing. But the key is over here. Let's see real quick. Oh, I missed the current version. Current version is that once you get to the profile list, okay, you can do a star and then pull profile image path, so to speak. So, and it'll look for all of them, I think. Now, registry is actually a little bit more complicated. It's not like a directory. If this was a directory, it'll be stupid simple. But registry is built out of items and item properties. So you have to pull the item property correctly. So I think if I do get item property, and then the path is like that, and then the name would be profile image path. Let's see if that works. Ta-da! Right? And then I'm just looking for, it's always going to be the same name of the actual property I'm looking for. So if I do profile image path,
Scott,
right? So now I have, one more time?
I'm asking Scott, who raised his hand, if he had something to add specifically to this. Okay.
Yeah, so this will basically give you a list of all the profiles that exist, right? And then when you match the one of the name you're looking for, all you're looking at next is the PS path or PS parent path. Here, the PS child name is actually going to give you what you want for the same exact command. So you can do a PowerShell lookup where your image path, right, where profile image path equals your username or is like your username, so to speak, spit out the same exact key, but it's going to be .ps child name, which will give you the SID, essentially. And then from there, you take that output, and then you go, again, PowerShell, you can then do a registry query against HK current user, or I'm sorry, HK users / the SID that you just pulled.
Hey,
so
Mendy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tim Fournette put something into chat that may help.
Yeah, so there's definitely a slightly easier way to do this, which is you can query the HK users key using a regular expression match for anything ending, well, anything starting with S1521, which is a user, and ending in a number. So in other words, not underscore class. The subkey is volatile environment. and from there you can pull just the user profile, like literally the user profile directory out of the user profile key. There's also, I think, a username key in there and some other stuff. So we do this a lot as far as this finds people who are logged in a little bit easier.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, and the great thing about PowerShell is there's a million ways to do it. Depending on which one, what you find and what you know. Obviously, I'm honestly an amateur in PowerShell.
Says the guy who just typed in PowerShell code to pull the registry without having to look it up.
I'm just whatever.
An
I mean, it's
amateur.
just 'cause I've done it before, but I know like almost nothing in PowerShell. I know how to figure things out. Like that's just an example of how things to how you can do it. The key is though, the point is that you can't use the HKey current user hive. The HKey current user will reference the current logged on session, which in this case with the remote monitor is going to be system. It's not going to work. So you have to make sure A, the user you want is logged in so that the nt-user.dat is mounted. And B, now that it is mounted, what SID is that user that you can reference that you can get to that path, and that's going to be under HK_users and then your SID. And then depending on how you figure that out, right? This is just an example. Scott had another one. Tim pointed a mechanism to identify the local user and the SID, right? So get local user and then select name and SID will indicate who's logged in and what the SID is. So if you have the username, you can just pull it out of there instead of searching the registry the way I did it. And based off whatever decision you do, you then use PowerShell again to still look up that final registry key and spit out the value. And the key is with remote monitors, it's going to be doing a condition check against whatever output is returned, right? That's how it works. So you want to make sure that you're returning only the value you care about to check, or alternatively, you're specifying regex inside automate to strip the value you care about out of all the output. And I'll just show you real quick. If I pull up a remote monitor on any computer, but then now it's not going to be quick. I got to wait for automate. But you'll see where you can specify your regex inside the monitor versus the condition check. And that'll filter out the results to only the ones you care about. So me personally, I find regex complicated. I find automate regex even more complicated. I limit what I'm outputting out in PowerShell to what I actually want. So I can write, 10 or 15 line scripts inside of my remote monitor. And if I only care about a success or fail, then I literally don't output anything except for I wrap the entire thing in an if condition. And then I output a success if everything else was successful, and I output a false if it wasn't successful, or a fail if it wasn't successful. So I hide all of the output that's occurring, and I only care about what I actually see and what I'm checking for, and that's it. So let me just show you real quick. Oh, wrong tab. That's going to take forever.
Where'd it go, Mendy?
I clicked on patching by accident. All right, monitors. Doom, 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 doom. There we go. And we want to do something that's, I don't know. I don't actually, oh, here. This is a remote executable monitor, kind of. So right here, the regular expression for results. You can use this specifically. This is not the condition check. This basically parses the result that gets returned so that it only displays or only looks at what you care about from the regex you put in here, the regular expression for results. And then the result over here is what you're actually checking. The condition will tell you what type of thing you're checking for. And that's basically one of the most important things. People, when they first start setting up remote monitors, they think the regular expression for results is the condition. And then they're like, why is it not working? Because they didn't read the full screen, or it's not well explained either way.
I put a regex tester in chat from Scott, who posted it in the Geekcast channel, just in case you're not at your computer. Oh no, I minimized my chat. I have to open that back up so I can see it.
So Alan, did that answer your question adequately?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Did it explode your mind?
It exploded my mind.
Yeah, it's fair.
That's fair.
It's fair.
Anyone else have other questions? No? Okay.
Not at the moment. Oh God, Mendy's good. Oh wait, we got a question. Ha ha ha. Oh, there's so many questions. All right, Michael was first. I'm gonna unmute Michael Diaz.
Hey guys, hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Michael.
Hey, yeah, so we are new to LabTech, so we just switched from Kasayat to LabTech this first of the year, so January 1. So yeah, so we did the patch 7 to 2027 this month. So do we need to redo our GPO, right? For agent deployment?
Oh, because you went to patch 7. So yeah, the patch 7 introduced a bunch of security features and changes, of course, that was broadcasted. I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about, but one of the key things is that you want to change your system password even if you've already done it after installing patch 7, because the functionality for the agent to update the system password was fixed. So probes will properly update after that, and so on and so forth. And of course, after you change your system password, any MSI that has the old password will no longer work. So if you have group policy that's pushing out an MSI, or if you have group policy that's pushing out a script with a system password hard-coded, you'll need to make sure those are updated.
Yeah, so our GPO is set up to actually copy just the documentation from the ConnectWise Automate documentation, which is using an exe file, if I'm correct. So I'm not sure how to use the script.
The exe file will also have the password embedded inside of it. So you'll want to replace that with a new current exe that's generated from the portal after you install patch 7 and change your password.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So we're going to do a different route because we need to redo it. So we're just going to do the scripting method. I would say the PowerShell, the LTPush.
Yep.
So I'm not just sure how to do it properly because the PowerShell now, LTPush now have a password on the syntax, right? The server
Yeah, it
password.
asks you for that same server password which you have reset, which is available in your database.
Right.
Yeah. So if we're going to do that we're going to do it in a plain text. So how are we going to manage that securely?
So that you stumbled on a question that's not a 20-minute answer, I think.
I'm sorry.
Who's on the call. There are many articles that are on MSPGeek about how to implement the script option, and then there's additional articles from various people on MSPGeek that explain what to do in this situation, because of the security changes. The most, I would say, safest probably, although I myself personally do not know how to do it, and we're not doing this for our own company. But the safest mechanism that you probably feel most comfortable with is the latest one that Darren has. He basically created with a few other people helping out, where he generates a installation token, not a server password. He uses an actual installation token from a probe to deploy the agents, and those tokens they can be site specific, they can be expired after a period of time, and you can generate new ones as needed. So it doesn't use the server password for the install. That is probably the safest one you want to use. I think if Wesley wants to talk, he might know more about it. I'm not sure. But
Matt put in a good link in the chat for
there you go. So that's one of the threads I think that I was talking about for how to and he uses the generate tokens as well. So that should actually have everything that I just talked about. That's one of the articles I mentioned.
Okay, I'm going to register it. Thank you.
No problem. All right, Aaron Jacobs is next. It actually orders them who raises their hand first, which is actually really a nice feature. Good job, Zoom.
Hey guys, how you going? So question for me was just this ConnectWise command, aka continuum. Does anyone have any clue what the long-term plan is there? Because I have no real interest in being told I'm moving from automate to continuum in the future.
The myriad of questions we've asked specifically about command to automate and how that they're gonna be together. There's no flat out specific answer. It's always we're supporting both platforms. Automate's not going anywhere. So it's there's no official answer. It's hard to pinpoint if they are going to try to force everyone into command. It might not. It's hard to say. Scott, I'll unmute you again. Do you have something to add to that?
I do actually. So we actually run an instance of Command as well as Automate, which is, I guess, a weird situation. We had a customer who required that we run Command because they have a remote access solution. So if they are going to put these things together, and I have no idea as far as that, it's definitely going to be a long way down the road. Like I can't imagine two more different products.
Right.
Yeah.
Like having used both, they're just a very different thing. The one thing that I at least speculate will probably be integrated sooner than later is the Continuum knock. I expect you'll see some form of service through Automate for that sooner than later. Is my guess, because that's probably the most valuable resource that Continuum has. But that's speculation just based on having used both.
Yeah, I concur with that. I mean, there's no official answer anywhere yet, and it's too soon, I would say. I know they're trying to bring some of Automate's features inside of Command, but that's all information we could gather. So
No, that's cool. That makes sense. You know, we've been waiting for 2 years for a web browser, so I don't think they're going to merge products together yet any quicker than that. So
well, hold on, the web browser's not even done yet. So
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
No problem. All right, Chris, I'll have asked to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, new to the community. Excited that you guys exist. It's a fun space. I already have watched a bunch of videos, so exciting. I appreciate all the work and effort you guys have put in for the content. I'll be lurking around for a while. We've got a small MSP out here in California. It's been going well. We use Automate for our MSP, for our internal engineers. It works great. We now have a customer for the first time who is going to migrate off of us. They're downsizing. They're basically kind of going out of business, but you know, they don't want to pay us for our MSP anymore, which is fine. But they've asked, hey, can we still have access to the tools you use to manage our network, which would be Automate? So before I even finish answering the question, I can
no, if they're not paying, they don't get access to anything.
Well, they're okay with paying.
Yeah, that'd be
right?
odd.
But they don't want to pay as much.
Yeah.
So we actually do something similar like that. We have customers. I mean, our again, you kind of want to focus on, I don't know where you are. You like the business owner or whatever, but there's multiple sides to look at it, right? So on one end, there's the, we don't want to support you and have to deal with your crap. So no, get off our system and go, figure something else out. But on the other hand, there's the business owner side of thing, which the owner of IntelliComp, the company I work for, is very, very good at. And some people say he's too good at it. He is very willing to work with the customer to any level, because in his mind, if the customer comes back, then they're going to remember the experience they had. And if you're willing to work with a customer, they're going to come back to you if they have a comeback. And honestly, it has happened. We've had several customers that have had to declare bankruptcy, or they've had to downsize, and they came back strong, and they came back to us and said, they told, Kevin, my boss, they're like, listen, you guys have done tremendous work for us. You guys are willing. You were so patient. We want to make sure you are our IT company. And that was the experience they had. It is completely worth it if you think the company is actually going to stick around. And it also depends on how much your licensing costs for the Automate agent itself, right? And how much work you're going to actually be doing. So he gives. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I just want to make sure we go down the right path. I'm 100% with you guys. I am the business owner. They're paying a 2-year cancellation fee, plus we're charging them for Automate. I was more concerned about, is it a good idea to give customers access to Automate, and how do we lock down the permissions so they only see their stuff and not everybody else?
Got it.
Yeah, no, that's
completely
actually
wrong
simple.
direction. That's easy.
No, that's not bad. That's not that big of a deal. It's the technical term is called Streamline IT. So Manage has their Streamline IT board set up, and Automate, you just lock down and give them only access to their company group.
Right. So I'm going to pull up the user side in a second. And a lot of people here have done this in significantly better ways than what I'm probably going to show you. So you can find more details that are on the forums, but this is like an idea of where to start. Are you familiar with advanced searches and auto joins to groups?
Yeah.
Okay. So there is already a group created for every customer that you create, right? So every customer that exists in Automate has a group with all their computers inside of it. What we're going to be looking for is going to be group level permissions, essentially. And what it is on a specific user that you create, you can give them a technician account, and under groups and clients, you can actually remove their access to all agents and all clients and specifically give them access only to their customer group, which when they log in, they'll only see those agents. Okay. There are other ways you can apply this permission using classes under specific groups as well. If they're a customer that crosses more than one customer group. You can also make changes to their level of scripting that they can give out based off permissions, the command level limits and stuff like that. So there are definitely ways to do it. And I'm pretty sure there are posts on the MSPGeek as well. But if you have trouble, then feel free to hit us up directly, and I'll send you to someone who I know has done it, and he can help you out.
All right, but the general consensus is security, safety-wise, as long as we find the right permissions and lock them out, they can't really mess up anything else. They can go in there and do their own thing. And
yep. And number one tip, by the way, is after you create the account, log into it yourself and just double check everything.
Yeah, log into it and try to do something malicious.
Right. See, make sure they only have access to the stuff that you want them to see.
So we are strongly on the other side of this fence for what it's worth, as we always are. We have one customer that's allowed to access our automated instance. It's a legacy customer, and I wish we'd never said yes. But as far as it goes, the one thing that you didn't cover here that's very important, regardless of permissions and whatnot, is the one permission that can never be granted to a customer is the ability to execute scripts. If you provide the customer with the ability to execute scripts, you are essentially providing an avenue for them to compromise your environment if they ever are compromised.
Yep.
So definitely don't provide that no matter what. So if that's one of the convenience things that they would like is the ability to you install our software with XYZ script or whatever, the answer to that really needs to be a hard no.
Yeah, I mean, they're really looking for it for patching and maybe some basic monitoring and remote, control. ConnectWise control.
Yeah, I would stipulate that, our system is what it is. If we happen to make something and it gets applied to your stuff, then hey, it's done. But we're not going to custom create anything for you as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I tackle that differently, just so you guys know. I give a couple of customers that need it and request that access to Automate in a very restricted down environment, and I also I do allow them to run scripts, but I only allow them to run scripts that I've specified. So the permissions, scripting permissions is not amazing, and they're only restricted to the web interface, which gives me some challenges when things break. But it works. There could be an inherent risk there underlying somewhere, but for what I need, it works well.
Right. If they're only accessing the web interface, they can't really create their own scripts.
Not yet, anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if they're only running scripts that you create, then you do have an acceptable risk analysis you can perform to determine whether or not that would be something that you'd be okay with. I know we have the ability, I know a lot of people actually do, to even grant people who don't have access to Automate through the tray, you can allow them to run scripts that are common. So even if they do have a script they want to run often, you can just push it into their tray and they can just go to that computer, right click on your tray icon and execute the script.
Yeah, we do that as well. That works really well. We've got a particular accountant that has line of business software that needs updating all the time, no admin rights, all the usual stuff. So we just script it out and a thing that downloads it and pushes it out so they can run it themselves after servers are upgraded and they're happy with it. It works. So.
Yep, exactly.
How about deploying new agents? Same thing. I mean, if they have a new device, they can roll out an agent and it'll just auto join their group.
So
group policy and LT push.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we were just discussing earlier for the other question. LT push group policy would be the best way to do it. Using the tokens generated would be the most secure way. If you give them installer, then you're basically giving them a server password, that they can extract in plain text, or someone can grab and install on any computer, which you wouldn't necessarily want. So group policy ensures that it's only domain joined computers that are joining your environment. And then LTPOSH ensures that the script that's installing is using your install token, which you can expire at any time. As opposed to breaking all of your agents, you're just going and expiring that install token.
Yeah, I think the problem is going to be a lot easier. Of course, nowadays is everybody's work at home machine where they're using their personal device to access their virtual desktop or, weird or non-domain joined corporate assets, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So there are things that you can probably do depending on how creative you get. Do you have an ad hoc or a support Screen Connect session or ConnectWise control environment?
Yeah.
So like we have the ability on our side at IntelliComp that our customers can go to our control website and start their own sessions. So like we don't have to give them a session code. They can just click on start, they put in their name or an identifier for that computer, and it joins the session. And I'm pretty sure you can create triggers to occur automatically. So you may be able to have a script execute when a session joins to install an agent. Or you can just tell them to go and join the session, and then you can go log in, jump in, and install an agent for them at that time. It's a little bit of a manual process, that one, but that is the one that we do. I haven't dug into the triggers to know for sure if we can do it automatically, but from what I've seen, it looks possible.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. All right. I appreciate it. I have a few other questions, but I'll kind of go to the bottom of the queue and wait my way back up again.
I mean, no one else has raised their hand, so feel free.
One of the challenges we're having is with our internal deployment of Automate. You know, unfortunately, I'm the person the most excited about it and the person who should have the least hands in it. You know, we don't want to outsource the management of our automated deployment. We kind of want to still run it, manage ourselves, but we're looking kind of. Let's see, how do we do it as vendor neutral as possible? We're looking for some references for some good consultants to work with, to kind of help us. We've got patching rolled out. But I asked my guys, like, hey, what do you use Automate for? And they're like, ConnectWise Control, that's what that does, right? And they're like, ooh, no, there's a few other things it does, right? Like getting our guys up to speed, getting them energized and excited about it, and, really getting it used, because we're only using the first 10% of it, which is still great. We've got some monitors going, but, there's 90% of it that we're not even looking at yet.
So there are several consultants within the community, but I do think most of them charge a monthly fee. They're like an MSP for your MSP type deal, but they're all really good. Stack Advisors, CTG, Quentin Comer is good. Ryan, Meta MSP on MSPGeek. They're all really great individuals who I have not heard a bad thing about. As far as what their talents and their skill sets do. I mean, one of the Stack Advisors is a member of the admin team. I mean, they're just great. All of them are. So, but to get excited, to get your team excited about Automate, we kind of covered this during the IT Nation event we had. I don't know if you saw that, but it's basically having the technicians themselves see what they can do with the Automate itself. Having someone maybe assign a technician, hey, here's a task you do weekly. How do you automate this? And show them how to automate it, and then watch them as they do it and show them the power of what Automate can do. And it's just step by step trying to introduce them into the pool so that they start thinking, instead of, all right, how do I fix this problem, to, all right, I fixed this problem, how do I automate it for the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting actually, because after our session with IT Nation, we had like a similar AMA type thing with the hosts and people. And the biggest issue people had was that the automation engineers were not getting owner buy-in into Automate and into automation in general. And here you're coming in with the exact opposite, where as the owner, you're excited and want the automation to occur, but your engineers are not getting excited for automation. So you really have to figure out, and it's going to be the same concepts that apply, but you're looking to get employee buy-in to occur. Like once they see how things work, there's going to be a few challenges. Number one is people don't like learning new things. Most people don't like learning new things, right? So I don't know how your engineers are, but you got to find the one who likes to learn new things. The guy who grabbed the PowerShell book as soon as it came out and started jumping right into PowerShell in version 2.1 or whatever. 2.0, sorry. And you have to, that person is going to be your Automate person. He's the one who's going to be pushing for the newest and greatest. And the guy who literally jumps on firmware updates as soon as they come out, I'm telling you, there's a guy in our office who installs it like before the email even comes out that it's been released. He's installing it on our stuff. It's annoying, but that's the type of person he is. He's always looking for the latest and greatest, and he's always looking for things that are different, that are new. That's the type of person that you want to focus on. Have him start building out automation. Give him things to do, especially if it's something that is easy-ish, maybe, like if we have walkthrough instructions on how to set up some kind of automation that's helpful, that other people in your company can start using and seeing what automation does. That's the key. They have to get buy-in to automation. Once they understand how it works and how it can change their lives, that's when they're going to start getting excited about it, and that's what you need to find.
It took me 2 years to be able to reset a domain admin account via Automate. That's the buy-in. I had some buy-in from techs but hardly any buy-in from owners. And it took me sitting down after an employee had left and going, "Hey guys, let me watch you reset this domain admin password, and then after you're done, I'll take 5 minutes and reset all of them again for you," for them to realize, oh my God, this is boring, monotonous work. I hate my life. But you can do it in 5 minutes by just right-clicking and running a script. And you just see the light come on, and then you see seeing the management light come on and the tech light come on. I don't have to waste my entire evening, doing this stupid monotonous task. And the boss is like, I don't have to pay overtime. You gotta find that niche thing and work your way up. It's gonna take a while to build up, but as soon as you start getting one, they'll start just one after the other.
Yeah, we're kind of focusing on, Q3 is our automate quarter, right? We have quarterly rocks, and the whole engineering rock for Q3 is get deeper into automate, right? Automate some things, get a training session, get a consultant we like, right? And just kind of double down. So that's kind of what got us here. And a few of my engineers will probably be passing through in the different forums as well, kind of asking questions and stuff. But
bring them on.
It's exciting.
All right. So, any other questions? Feel free to raise your hand. Alt U. I don't know Zoom commands anymore.
Alt U. It looks like Alan raised his hand for a second.
Alan raised his hand again. All right. I'm gonna cheat, and he's gonna go first. All right, Alan.
Hey guys. More about that system tray, like executing scripts from the system tray. Can we get a quick visual of how to set something like that
Mendy, you got the screen.
Sure. Let's see if I remember how to do this, because it's been god awful long time. But
yep.
This is super
so there is a
useful
lab
as
tech
well.
tray. I think you guys can see this, right? This is a default tray, default icon, 24/7 monitoring is default text. I don't have any branding or anything applied to this. And here's the right-click menu, right? So from the right-click menu, I don't know how many of you guys look at this, but we have customers who we never tell them about the tray, and they find the create ticket option all the time. And it's really funny to us. But there's options here that can be used to help identify the computer. Let's say if you need to get onto the machine and you don't know what the computer name is or whatever, you can come here, click about. They can give you the ID number, which you can type up here in the field. And if I put it in just one, enter, it just pops up that computer screen. So there's a lot of different things inside that right-click menu, and it's completely customizable, almost completely customizable, I should say. So the way it works is done through templates, which is done under automation templates. There you go.
We don't ever go here.
See, I knew exactly where that was. No one had to help me with that.
Let's see if I can remember this.
So you can see here, these are templates that apply. The template applies a lot of things, including schedules and all sorts of different settings to the actual agent itself. Branding, and so on and so forth. Custom tray icon, the tray text, the service display name that shows up inside services.msc, right? The tray menus is another one such thing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to make a new one, and I'm just going to call this custom tray scripts. And I'm not going to add anything to anything. I'm just going to come here and add just to the tray menus. I think I have to do something here, new menu, and call it, I don't know, run script. And then I have to tell the menu action to do a script. And then I select the script from a dropdown, which I honestly don't have any good ones to run on my computer.
Set as admin.
One more time?
Set as admin. That's fairly harmless.
Set as admin.
Lab tech test email script right above you.
Oh, look at that. I don't have email working on my instance. That's not really going to work.
Install AVG. Install Adobe. You have Adobe Reader. Flash Player.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, Silverlight. That's still a thing, right?
Let's do Chrome installer. That looks at the most. That's not what I selected. Let's try that again.
Right,
Chrome
second below,
installer.
yeah.
All right. And we don't need any parameters for this. I'm just going to put in install Chrome. And the description, I don't know, install Chrome script. Okay. And add. And that gets, oops, save. And then that gets added over here. Let me just edit this and do.
What's script parameters? Do we know what that does?
That's if you have a specific item, like you want to, like let's say you're looking for, you want to install software package, you can put the exe inside that script as a parameter, and you can then put it into there to run.
Yeah, that actually, it gets a lot, it's a completely different area conversation, but if you save that question, we can come back to it and I can show you exactly where that is. But yeah, when you create the script, you have the option to include parameters, and that's what you're specifying, essentially. So I now created this template, and I need to apply it to something. So I'm going to use my searches to create an advanced search, and then I'll create a group to tie it in, and let's see how long this takes. We're going to do, I'm honestly going to do it on a specific computer. Let's see.
All right, while you're doing that.
Let's speed this up. Computer name.
It's in general.
Yeah, I thought so, but I couldn't read general, and then I saw it after you mentioned it.
So Jason just mentioned a fantastic cool thing. You can use wildcards like % computer name, % or username or company name inside the tray icon, and it will properly render.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
You use environment variables from the computer inside the tray icon, and it will render correctly, you're saying. Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's good to know. I didn't know that.
One thing that I used to do was the actual tray text, when you hover over it, you can actually have like % computer name %.
Right.
And then in parentheses after it have like computer ID. So when you're on the phone with the end user and you're like, hey, what's your computer ID? Just hover over this icon and it will have a number. Well, now you can take that number and type it into your control center. That's another thing that I used to do back when I was on the partner side.
So I actually like to group my groups into subgroups, into things that, because Automate has a bunch of Automate has a bunch of built-in out-of-the-box groups, and I don't want to, it's very hard to find if you're trying to go through them all. So you create like a custom group parent, and then inside there you put all your subgroups. The other thing is like you can apply scripts and monitors and things like that to a parent group and have it apply to subgroups as well. So like kind of like think of like group policy hierarchy almost. Inside the group is where you're actually going to apply the template. If you notice right here, all right, I'm just going to choose custom tray scripts. The priority is tricky because I think it's using typical lab tech logic, not normal logic. I think the higher the priority, the less important it is. Right? The lower priority takes precedence over the higher priority. It's kind of like a network routing table. Scott's giving me a thumbs up, so I think I got it right.
Don't forget to make it a master group.
Yeah, and then the master, just blank that out, right? Is that what we want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Custom computer tray icon, essentially. And then I'm going to set this to the script the search that I just created, and I'm going to limit to the search, which is going to do the auto join stuff. So let's create the group. Let's preview run. It's auto join now. Okay, and it'll take literally, it shouldn't take very long because it's literally just one computer. I may have to close and reopen it.
This is Automate.
Okay, it may take a while.
Let's be honest.
Let's see.
We're all friends here.
It's already in the group, Kyle.
Fantastic. Do you
Shut
have
your
the
face.
options?
It's already in the group.
How many agents on that system?
15.
That's probably why it's in the group.
It's overloaded. It's overloaded.
That's probably why it's already in the group.
Add more resources. Cloud can't handle it.
All right, so it's here. It's showing up. I have the tray. The only thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this computer got, it is online, thank you. So I just want to make sure it got the latest configuration. So I'm going to update config. And then you can actually open up the computer and see effective policy is something that I don't know how many people know about, but it'll show you what's being applied to that computer from the Automate perspective.
I remember opening effective policy back before the new control center. You'd sit there for 20 minutes waiting for it to load. I don't know if that's still the case or not. I don't think I've looked at it in forever.
Well,
It's
we're
about-
sitting here, and
It's about the same.
taking a while to load.
So,
Here, so you can see under templates, the current computer config. Is that what I called it? No,
Yes.
custom tray scripts. There you go. That's better, I think. And we can just see there's nothing really here, but the tray, which apparently doesn't show up for some reason, is here in the template. So now, if I remote into this computer, which I have no idea whether or not it will work. Keep in mind, this is all my lab stuff. Oh, look at that. Holy crap, it works. Now I have to log in. Now you all have my password. It's a bunch of dots. My tray should have a install Chrome. And that's how it works. And if I click on this button, it will check into the automate and say, okay, install Chrome. Now I chose this computer because I think I don't have Chrome on it already, but it's here. And I don't know when it was installed.
You can look at the scripts to see it run, Mendy.
I'm going to do that next, but I'm already here and it's going to be faster than automate.
That's
7:15.
7:15.
That's not today.
No, it's not. It's okay.
So let's come back here. and let's
Automate
take a
went
look
back
at
into the
scripts.
past and installed
Oh,
it
yeah.
5 days ago.
That's
That's
for
how
sure what
good
happened.
tray scripts are.
Do the tray scripts let you have like a menu in there, or is it gonna like if you have 10 scripts loaded, it's just gonna open?
Yeah, you can create custom menus for that.
Yeah, you can create a drop
You
down.
can create drop down,
Or,
not really drop down menus, but
navigable.
Sub menus or whatever, context menus.
Sub-context menus.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin.
Cool, thanks. That was really cool. Thank you.
And you can see the script was successful. It executed, and this is a script that happened. It was actually successful in the then section. So if you look at this log right here, it tells you script was successful in then section, which means that there's two sides to the script. There's a then and else, right? And this occurs based off the initial logic check right here. Basically, because software installed Chrome is true, then go here, which does absolutely nothing. So the script did nothing in this case. Didn't even say Chrome's already installed.
So it executed successfully.
Right.
That's all that
The
matters.
script was successful. That's all that matters. And it was instant, by the way. There was no like waiting for anything. It was.
That's because the software's installed. So it's like, finally, I don't have to do anything for once.
I was talking about the triggering of the script being instant.
Yeah, but you've got 15 agents in that system. So.
Okay, Martin is here and he's bashing his own script editor. And engine,
That's
sorry,
not-
his own script
That's not.
engine.
I'm not bashing my editor at all. That's the-
In terms of the
Because
other
it's not
question,
working because we don't have one for the web yet.
right here, the parameters, right here is where you add. So with scripts, of course, you can have variables. And that comes in use when you want to generalize your script or if you're trying to repeat lines of code without actually having them repeat. So you do logic based off a variable value. You can have those variables set as a parameter. So if I do, for example, application name right here, and I add it in, when I come to add in this script, if I come to run the script, I'm going to save and close. If I run the script manually, it's going to prompt and say, enter the value of, okay, that didn't work. Here, Chrome installer. Down here, it'll say, what application name do you want me to install? And it's gonna add whatever you put in this field as a variable, and that is the parameter. So whoever asked that question regarding parameters, if your script has parameters, you can specify what those are at that time from the tray, essentially.
Cool.
Hold on. Set the maintenance option would prompt them to set. Oh, so if you run the set maintenance script, no, like it'll set maintenance for that computer ID. I mean, you might be able to do one that's like for the entire client if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be based off of what the script has. If you program a script that will
delete system 32.
If you program a script that will set maintenance mode for an entire organization, then you can give that script access to someone. Now, what you can do is you can push that script to, again, thinking of variables, you can execute a variable to pull a location ID based off the current computer ID, right? So when that script runs, you're just looking up the location, or it's actually already there, it's percent location ID percent, right? Mm-hmm. So your script can just set maintenance mode for every computer in the location ID. and then you can give that maintenance mode script out to every computer. So that way the on-site IT can just run to a machine and just execute that script. Alternatively, you can just give access to only the on-site IT guy's computer to run that script, which will then execute maintenance mode on the entire organization.
Yep.
Just to take that one step further as well, if you do give them the ability to run a script that will set and clear the maintenance modes, one other thing that you can do, this is through EDFs, you could technically then have that script set an EDF to like maintenance mode 1, and then have that agent now auto join a group because it's in maintenance mode, and that group has a template assigned to it, and that template changes the tray icon. So now you can give your downstream IT guy the ability to run the maintenance script, and then when he sees the agent tray icon differently, that's his visual indicator that it's in maintenance mode, and he or she can go about his business and then obviously run the clear maintenance mode once they have finished.
You can also taking that same step further, you can also switch the script from enable maintenance mode to disable maintenance mode and only show the one that's relative or that's relevant at the time based off what mode they're in. It's automation to a whole nother level, guys.
Oh.
Yeah, if you can think it, you can lab tech it, automate it.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm sticking with lab tech it.
Yeah.
Decon, I'm unmuting you. Feel free to ask your question.
Yes. So something that I haven't quite fully understood was the perf monitors. Like they get installed, I guess, on the like all agents group for under the service plans, but are they even necessary? If I don't care about the monitors, can I turn them off? How can I turn them off? Because I see them do that like LTSVC no perf check or something. It just seems different than everything else, the way that the remote monitors get handled.
Martin, go ahead. You're here.
Can I take that one, Mendy?
Please.
Yeah, please, dear God, take that one.
Okay. All right. So some perfmons are created through the onboarding script, and then there are other perfmons that are not. They're just inherited by groups. What I did long time ago is I did remove them, because realistically, I don't really care for a machine that spikes CPU for a minute or two. The best remote monitors out there in the world are your end users. So thinking of that, they'll tell you when there's a problem. So what I would recommend with these perfmons is create yourself an alert template that just creates an informational alert. No raise alert, no create ticket, just in, well, it's raising an alert, but it's at like the informational level. So you can filter out those style of alerts from just a normal raise alert. Then when the user calls you and says, hey, my computer's running really slow, well, now you've got all these informational point in time records of when, oh, hey, yeah, this PC has been running, memory issues or CPU issues and whatnot. Use them as a point and reference. Don't use them as ticket generators. Don't create tickets just for the sake of creating tickets. For instance, the real world scenario that gave me that light bulb moment was we were getting alerts for this particular machine at 12 o'clock every single day. And we called the user, couldn't get through, called the user, couldn't. Eventually we got through. Turned out it was an assistant running a report for someone. And when they ran the report, they left their desk and went to lunch, because that report always slows down their PC. It's an absolute pain, but I don't care. I'll just run that report when I go for lunch. So by the time the lady comes back from lunch, the PC is good now. She can use her PC. But in the meantime, I was getting all of these alerts saying that, CPU and memory and all this was all over the place. So yeah, the end users are your best remote monitors when it comes to performance, because it's also somewhat in line with their expectations of how their equipment should work.
Oh, don't forget they lie too. So.
Well, end users, if you scramble the letters of end users, you do know it spells rudeness.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
Okay, cool. So anyway, I would keep them, but just set them to informational alerts. So that way, when the person does call you, you may or may not have something to reference back to to kind of back them up.
Do you mean
Yeah.
just change like the alert template to default do nothing? Like not.
No. So you would create another alert template, call it.
Let me pull it up. Let me start doing it.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's walk through it.
So go to your dashboard, management, alert templates.
Even with 15 agents, Martin, it's still slow.
Sure.
ODUI.
All right, management, alert
and
templates.
Alert templates.
All right,
Down
I'll walk
the-
you through it. Click
All
new
right.
template,
New template.
This is great.
informational alert. Add
Mendy, your
alerts.
lab needs more than 1 gig of RAM, I'm told.
Right click, new alert. Now go down that list a little bit. Keep going. Raise information. Warning and error, same thing. And then do every day. And then the user technician, admin. Save it. Refresh.
It's refreshing.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so close that. And save and close. So now sort by template ID, highest to lowest, descending, yeah. Okay, so now you take that alert template and you attach that to all of the monitors that you really don't think you care about from like a day-to-day ticketing, human needs to do something perspective.
Right.
When the user calls up, they're just your point-in-time records. You also now want to go to config. And your retention on the, where are they? Does that have retention? I can't remember. I can't recall which one this is under, but anyway, based on your retention, they'll cycle through your system. But that's how I would go about those
The
type of
key thing
performance
here
ones.
is to identify, right, which alerts, and it's something I sat down with my proactive team and I said, listen guys, you have to understand we're getting too much information from lab tech, right? That's the biggest thing people have. We get too much information from lab tech or automate. How do we know what to jump on? And we don't want to start jumping on an alert where CPU spiked for 5 minutes to 99%. It's not helpful, right? You have to identify actionable alerts to non-actionable alerts. And then from the actionable alerts, you have to identify critical actionable alerts, right? A server blue screening, if you get an alert that a server blue screened, for example, that's not helpful. You can't do anything with it, except there's nothing to do right now. If the alert came in, that means the server's back up, right? So that's why the alert came in. So they're not down unless they're continuously blue screening. So if you get like 3 or 4 blue screen alerts, then there's something to jump on right away. But if you just got one, that's not critical compared
That's
to another
normal Windows
one.
operation.
Yeah, and again, when it comes to performance, I can't stress enough, the end users are your best remote monitors for
Right.
performance.
The only thing that you can do for performance itself is tracking history. That's it. Usage
And that's
over
what this
time is
does.
the best thing, exactly. And what Martin just showed us will track us the history. So when someone complains about something on the computer, they go back and see, oh yeah, we can see at such and such time every day, or even all day for the last week, your computer's been going slow. Like you'll have that metric to showcase.
Right. And so just to tie this back to your earlier conversation, right? When you were talking about priority. So one of the things you can do here is let's say you identify a server that like if it spikes to 100%, that is a problem, right? Like we definitely have servers in our infrastructure where if it hits 100% for 1 minute, it's a problem because it just should never get there. So you can essentially use a group to specify a different alert template based on priority, right? So if your standard alerting template, for example, is priority 5, you can go in, create another group that says, okay, this is my critical infrastructure that I do want to monitor CPUs on, and go in there and make an alert that's priority 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 or 0, right? That uses the same exact alert that you're monitoring on using a different template. So because you can assign that, in that group or in a different group, you can sort of do different things based on what's important to you. So that's an important thing to remember is like, even though, like Mendy sitting here and Martin sitting here saying like, these aren't really important alerts, and they're definitely not for, 99% of your infrastructure. There can be times where it is. And so you just have to make that decision on your own, and you can leverage the fact that you can use different alerting templates for different machines to get that information.
Yeah.
And
so Just one thing, and I just want to stress that because Scott just brushed over it really quickly. But one of the biggest complaints we hear from people joining who were sold on the idea of automating a turnkey solution is that the monitors themselves are going to be a business decision, how you run your business, how your customer systems operate. There's absolutely no solution in the world that's going to be turnkey for that. It's going to be something that you have to tweak every single time because it's going to be different for your situation. So despite what myself and Martin have been saying, Scott's right. You got to make that decision based off the systems you have and the ones that you're supporting, the SLAs that you're guaranteeing. That's going to be completely dependent on your infrastructure and environment. Scott, do you mind walking me through what you're talking about in terms of the different priorities for the alerts and the groups?
Sure. So this applies more to internal monitors as far as priority, but external monitors, you basically can do the same thing, right? So you have this informational alerts only, right? And I don't recall, I wasn't paying super close attention when you were applying it to a given, did you apply it to anything or no?
I did not apply it to anything, nope.
Okay, great. So let's say we're gonna apply this to an internal monitor in this case, instead of the external monitors, right? So if we go to a group and you take a look at the groups, I think one of the current groups is, I want to say under system automation is like just an offline alert, right? Like there's a standard, I forget out of the box, it's been 10 years, so.
I think, yeah, there's we can, here, let me try to find the best way to do it. It's probably through the monitors window. Do you want to find the offline alert?
That makes sense.
So we're looking at internal monitors? Right?
Yeah, in this case. So it should probably be.
Look at offline. So offline servers?
Perfect, yeah. So if you go in here, right, the default template for this, if you go under alerting, is probably going to be create a ticket. Yeah.
Yep.
So what you can do here now is if you go create a group or you go to a customer group, for example, like let's say your Mendy lab group, you can leave this as it is actually right here. You don't change anything here. So if you go over to your Mendy lab group, that's like the baked in group for customer groups, right?
Yes, that's under
all clients.
Under all clients and Mendy
yeah,
lab.
and you can make your own groups to do this, but we'll just use what's there because it's faster.
Yep.
So when you come in here, you'll see that there's this priority right here in the group to the right. Right now it's going to say template none, priority 5, right?
Yeah.
But if you go into the computers tab, and you can ignore this completely, go into internal monitors, and here you're going to see a list of all your internal monitors, and the ones that are applied globally are going to say global. If you scroll down to your offline alert here.
What was it called? LT offline?
I think it's, LT offline server.
Yep.
Right, so if it's disabled on this lab. So if you click here, double click on this, you can, well, yeah, there you go. So you can set it to enabled, and you can specify an alert template. So here, maybe we don't care because it's a lab, right? We only want to know that the server went offline. We can just take a look and see like, oh yeah, it went offline. So here you have your informational alert. This could also be, a group for 24/7 uptime where you're going to set off pagers, you're going to call your answering service, you're going to whatever, right? Depend based on what your alert template is. So in here, you can basically specify that for this group, I only want, I want a different type of alert. In this case, informational only, but it could be whatever.
Right.
So by coming in here and customizing those groups in that fashion, you get to do kind of like you can set up all these alerts that do different things, and you can limit them in scope to the things that you care about.
Right. I don't know if you can do this for remote monitors specifically.
So with remote monitors, what you end up having to do is you would create a group, or you can go into the remote monitors if you take a look. So in here, when you create a remote monitor against a group, right? If you have a remote monitor in a group and then you create a subgroup, you can either inherit those remote monitors or you can not inherit those remote monitors. I forget where the option to do that is.
Right.
But like essentially, like if you overwrite that, you can overwrite that remote monitor with a different one by not inheriting it, and then choose a different one for that subset of machines. So if you have a remote monitor that applies to all machines under contract, for example, or whatever, you can have another one that has the same monitor that applies and it just uses a different alert template, and then or have a different service plan. For example, like you'd have a 24/7 service plan and an 8x5 service plan. So in the 8x5 service plan, you don't get alerts after hours. In the 24/7, you do. Stuff like that, and you just do searches and group joins, which we haven't really talked about, but hopefully everyone should understand at least a little bit. It's really kind of where the power of Automate lies.
Yes, Matt. You have to.
I had a question.
You were
Your
breaking
audio
up.
is really bad. And you're muted.
Uh,
How's it now?
it's better.
There you go.
I've been in Automate for roughly 6 months and Manage for maybe 2. And one thing I need to re-implement is a recurring server down alert. I was wondering how you guys would approach that until someone goes in and puts it into maintenance.
I would do an EDF. I would create a script that runs inside the alert and then ticks up at a table, just records it in an EDF, gets the current EDF and then adds 1 to that and then reset it after X days.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Pat has a question. I have asked to unmute you, Pat, so you should be good.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 things. Number 1, can I see that informational alert template again real quick?
Sure. Depends if my automate behaves. Here it is. So, well, here's the alert itself. You're going to go down to the information, raise
Okay.
information. And then it's going to depend if you want to be warning or error.
Familiar.
That's it.
Cool. So sort of relevant to the offline alerting, I've got a fair few devices that aren't really servers, but we sort of treat them like servers. So we'll do the server offline alert to get an alert if they go down. But the truth is we really don't care if they go down out of hours. And so for locations that keep them on 24/7, we just use the normal server offline monitor and it's fine. But for locations where they power off at night or get shut off, whatever, it's a huge problem because they get a bunch of spam alerts. So I've taken a few different tactics to work around that. One was an alert template with, hours set.
Right.
The problem would be that if it went offline in the middle of the night, then we would not get an alert in the morning if it was still offline. So I wound up switching to 2 different versions of the server offline, one that alerts 20 minutes and one that alerts at, I think, 16 or 18 hours, which is good because we're guaranteed to get something eventually, but it still doesn't really cover the case of if it's offline at noon when people are trying to use it.
Right. You touched on an issue that people have been complaining about from the beginning, is that the alert template does not monitor, the alert triggers and it's just ignored. It's not queued until the time expires. You know what I mean? It's not on pause. And I don't know, Martin, is there a way to queue the alerts until the timer starts again, or?
If not, I would just, if there's not a way, Scott's got to talk again, obviously. I can say that because he's still muted.
I'm what you'd call a good participant. I mute my mic when I'm not talking. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll just right-click and mute everyone. Don't make me.
Yeah, I'm just curious if anyone's tackled this or what you guys think's the best approach.
Uh,
So I'll wait for Martin to answer, certainly, but we do have a solution.
Right. I mean, there are different ways you can.
Mendy, you're not
solution
Martin.
yourself.
All right, go.
There you
Sorry,
go.
go
Martin
ahead,
wasn't
Scott.
talking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
No, Scott, please give us your solution. I'll mediate both of these.
Oh, sure. I mean, I thought Martin
go
had
ahead.
something, so no, that's fine.
He's out.
Gotcha. So the way that we've sort of handled this, our offline alerts are, as previously shown, our internal monitors. So one of the things that you can do with an internal monitor is that you can add an additional sort of requirement. So if you want to open up an internal monitor, I can kind of show that.
Sure.
Um,
Let's go to. Actually, got to go back here.
Yeah, you got to go into the actual monitors. You're in my wheelhouse now. This is all SQL, so this is where I call support and tell them how to fix things.
Talking about.
Yeah, no, so this is fine. So in here you can see there's an additional condition, right? So what you can do in here is essentially there is a function in MySQL called now, and it'll tell you what time it is right now. So you can, as part of your condition, just not trigger the alert if it's between specific times using a where clause. You can basically say, you know, where now is not between certain hours. And there's lots of the specific details of how to do that are fairly lengthy. Like you'll have to kind of look it up or get with me offline or something like that. Just because MySQL time kind of sucks to manipulate in a lot of ways. But you can definitely look up like what hour it is and basically say like, hey, in server time, I don't want to do this. If you want to adjust for time zones or something like that, good luck. I can't help
God,
you.
no.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you can add the time that you want to not look for in an EDF on the location or on the client. And then you can use SQL to pull that time value out of the EDF. So that way you can have a global monitor and then it's custom for each location or client, especially if you're using a EDF with a default value. But if you're doing an EDF that you create through, I'll just show you real quick under the dashboard. When you go to config and you create your additional fields over here, right? So this is where you create your fields, but under management, no, not under config additional field defaults, you can actually specify for computers, locations, clients, what the default value would be. So you can do like 8:30 to 5 default across the board. And that way your SQL will always be valid, and then go just customize the specific customers or locations that you want. You can even do it on a per computer level. You can even nest it all depending on how fancy you want to get with your SQL. So yeah, that's probably going to be the best option that you're going to get.
So I actually kind of started on something like that, but we're trying to use drop downs. And I don't know, it just got real hairy real fast.
You want to do drop downs as an EDF or?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to like manually do like drop downs. You know, don't alert between 5 and 8,
right.
5 p.m., 8 a.m.
So you have to make sure the value you're pulling is going to be value that you can use in your calculation. That's going to be the best way to do it.
Converted to SQL, basically. That can be understood in SQL.
There's definitely ways
we're missing.
There's definitely
good ways to do that. But the thing to keep in mind is like the more granularity that you give, the more complexity that you add. So like we have a drop down for patching that uses that you can literally select a given day and hour to start a patch window, whether you want daytime patching or not, and a bunch of other stuff. And that results in having 700 plus groups. So you have to accept that degree of complexity if you want to do that. And there's challenges that come with all of that. The other thing that's really important to understand, and Mendy is super guilty of this today, I will say, people tend to treat EDFs as though they are an unlimited resource in this community, and they are not.
I mentioned it one time. What are you talking about? I'm guilty of this.
That's not true. You've mentioned EDFs like 10 times tonight.
I concur. He did.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make you count them. Let's go.
All right. Well, we'll rewind the video later, but just something to keep in mind: there is a limit on the number of EDFs you can have in a given category, at least at current. I know they're working on fixing that. That's something that we put in as an enhancement request not too long ago. But there is a maximum table width in MySQL that currently limits the number of EDFs that you can have. So if you're super big, once you get to a certain point, you will break your instance if you add way too many of them. This amount is a large amount. So if you are small and you're just adding your first ones, please don't worry about it. But if you get into like the 200 range, start worrying. You're getting close. So something just to keep in mind.
What is that maximum number of EDFs?
A lot. I don't remember. I just remember we were broken for a long time because of it. Okay. We broke our patching because of it too.
So I would have solved this by creating 2 groups. No, I'd have created 2 groups, and I'd have had a script that kicked them back and forth and the alert monitor based on the time of day.
That's brave. I don't know that I would trust the script engine to run on time for that.
That's what I thought. Well, I'd have been like, if time is now, and I just had the script constantly run for like 30 minutes.
Is this more about just like delaying the
we don't want to get alerted, but we want the alert to occur if the machine falls, when the time window happens, if the machine is still in that state.
So when the time window elapses.
We don't want an alert to come through at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
But if 9 a.m. rolls around and that state still exists, we want to be alerted.
Right.
I think use diversion then.
One more time?
Elaborate.
You can use diversion. So
here's an automate instance.
Where is this? Go to your alert templates.
We live in there right now, don't we?
Yeah. So this is news to me. I'm excited.
I hope so. If I remember right, The only difference between the managed 24/7 and the managed 8x5 plan is the fact that the managed 8x5 plan will only alert you between 8 and 5.
You're talking about the start and end time.
No. Where is it? Go down the template list.
Oh, right here.
Please.
Suppress alerting until end of period. Look at that. Alert message on success is diversion.
So go close that window and sort your alert templates by name. Oh, man, I think this is still a thing. Go to your managed workstations 8x5.
Workstation or server? Okay, here.
Here. This is it. So your 8x5 is essentially raise alert and create script every day between 8 and 5. Then you create these two things as suppressors, and the message is diversion. So now if something happens at 6 p.m. and that state exists the next day at 8 a.m., you'll get an alert. You could also do that.
Wow.
So this is news to I think everyone on this call.
I remember there was someone talking about it, which is why I called out Martin initially. I remember there was some kind of feature for this, and I called Martin out to explain what it was initially.
Remember when I was like, I'll let Martin finish talking? You're like, nah, he doesn't have anything to say. You were
he
wrong.
sat there and didn't say anything.
No.
It's not my fault.
Okay. I apologize. I was totally in the middle of something else. And then you're like, well, and then when Mendy said no, and I need the alert if when that window ends and it's still in that state, now I want to know. Yeah. So if you look at the default workstation or server 24/7, comparing it with the 8x5, you'll see how the system does that. And that will save a lot of SQL.
A lot of execution time, CPU cycles.
I've got a screenshot with the diversion in it. I think I'm good to go, man. Thank you.
Okay. Dan wanted to mention again.
Sorry about that.
You can use maintenance windows, of course. Maintenance windows, when they expire, the alert will trigger. So if you do want to script your maintenance windows, that will work. But if you don't want to have a bunch of systems in maintenance mode, then this would be the better way.
That's Mendy. I didn't realize. Well, I guess I didn't think to set a maintenance mode from a script, but you could do that based on EDF too. Yeah, that would work.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Can you open up the suppress alert?
Sean had his hand raised. Do you still have a question, Sean?
Okay, so that's how they do it.
Yeah, you suppress alerting until end of period, and I guess you select that start time and end time.
I don't understand why the time doesn't overlap. It stops at 5, and this starts at midnight. This one starts at 5 and ends at 11:59. Never mind.
Yeah, I think it's just because I remember a long time ago, Manage had an issue when things SQL just has an issue when things ride past midnight. So it's like, you know what? Let's just do 5 till 11:59, 12 till 7:59 a.m. Yeah.
So for those of you who have automated instances that are extraordinarily old, that diversion actually is not in the default template. If you were installed back in the version 9/10 days and have brought it forward. So just so you guys are aware, if you are extremely old, you will not actually have this in your default templates, and you might need to pull it off the stream or whatever. I'm sure the option is still there, but it does not exist in our default templates. So.
All right, Sean, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I had a couple questions. You guys were talking about running the script from the computer at the site.
Yep.
So if you have a variable, does that prompt them to enter that variable, or does that not work?
I don't think so. I think you have to set the variable in the script itself.
I've never used it, honestly. I can't tell you, but there was an option on the tray window, on the template window, to specify your parameters.
Okay.
I would refer you to the documentation on how to do it.
Okay, cool. So the next question I guess I kind of had is related. The reason I'm curious is because I was going to give our technicians maintenance mode options. So when they remote in, they don't have to go to the web page. They could just set it locally right on the box.
It was something Martin mentioned on somewhere. I don't remember. I think he used to do it at his old company.
Like 20 minutes ago, Mendy, is what he mentioned.
No, before that.
Yeah, I would basically give them the ability to have. I would give them the visibility of 2 scripts. One was set maintenance mode, and the other one was clear maintenance mode. And with the set maintenance mode, you can have a parameter on that script. Just call it minutes. And then when they go to run that script, they're going to be prompted with a little box saying minutes.
Here's your other answer, by the way.
Yeah. So
and then they just type in. So then they just type in 60, 120, 180, whatever. They click go or run, whatever. And then you can elaborate on that a little bit by having the icon change if you throw it into a different group and a template. But yes, if you don't specify the parameters in the setting up of that tray menu item, then the system's just going to be like, hey, what are your minutes? What are your hours? Okay, it's 3 minutes, 4 hours, go. And then it will run.
So just to be clear here, Martin, right here, script parameters is where you specify.
So you would do something like minutes equals 60, pipe, and then hours equals whatever else, and you'd basically pipe separate your parameters as you're putting them in.
And they'll get prompted. Will they see what the default values we supplied are, or no?
No, if you want them to be prompted for this value, you put no information in there.
No information at all, or just the name?
Because you're defining the values of those.
Got it. So if there are parameters on the script, it will prompt on screen for them. If you specify them here, it won't prompt them.
I believe so.
Try running your script. I don't know if it'll apply, but you added a variable to that script.
I did add a variable to that script. Let's see what happens.
Something also real important if you're going to follow Martin's idea with putting things in maintenance mode and giving them a script to take it out of maintenance mode. Make sure the maintenance mode you put it in doesn't include scripts. Just some common sense, but like it's really easy to do.
So that didn't work, but just to give you, like,
you have to recreate it.
Why can't I run this script to clear maintenance mode?
Put something in maintenance mode. I don't know if I can do it from here.
That's a good shout.
It asks you what type of maintenance mode you want to. Can I do it from here?
Yeah, set maintenance mode. It's literally right there. Oh no, that's the script, isn't it?
That's a script. Yeah.
It's an action, I think. So if you just go to the actions menu or something like that.
I know what you're referring to. You click on the little traffic cone in the computer management screen.
That's what it is. Yeah. Traffic cone.
This one.
That's the one.
Yeah, and it'll say like, do you want to?
It's behind you. It pops behind you.
Here you go. So when you do that, right? So you schedule the maintenance mode. It asks you what type of maintenance mode you want, right? So you have to make sure you don't specify scripts, because when you're doing it from a script, if you do ignore scripts, then your script to unset it is not going to work.
Correct.
That's typically why you would probably just have them set the number of minutes.
Right. And then
it's like, I'm going to be doing this for
automatically anyways.
I'm going to be doing this for a couple of hours. Let's just set it to 4 hours. Done.
Yeah, and so the maximum number you can input into that, I think, is somewhere around like 1 million. The other thing I would do there is definitely do some input validation to be like, hey, don't be a jerk and stop this. We have alerts and stuff to prevent our guys from putting things in maintenance mode for longer than I think it's like a couple weeks.
I had one of those too. If it was over 24 hours, then I would get an email and then I would go yell at someone.
Mine just directly emails me, them, and my boss and says like, hey, you need to justify this now.
Nice. That's the way, but I wouldn't have got.
Tell you what, if you are adding steps in some of the scripts that you write, but other people will execute, having yourself as an email recipient of some nature when they're running your scripts is brilliant. Because you really get a gauge of how often the scripts that you're writing are being run.
Mm-hmm. And who's doing it.
And who's running them, yeah. So basically then, like, when you're trying to promote this automation culture inside of your company, and you've got these 5 admins saying, oh, I want to run scripts. Okay, well, you just spent, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 7 days writing them for them. No one's running them. So, you have to justify your own cost of doing that based on their request. So again, it's just metrics that can help drive that internal buy-in, which I know Mendy touched on at the start of the call. It can be, sometimes difficult to get that in some environments, but that's just down to personalities. So everybody's got to handle and navigate that path a little differently.
Yep.
Right.
Something else I recommend script-wise that I actually spent when I first took over this role. I audited our entire script library, and it is thousands of scripts. It took me a couple weeks. I took a look at every script and said, okay, how is this used? So like if it's used by an end user, for example, like I tagged it with a production tag, like prod. And if it's used in automation only, so like no one is running it, I tagged it as automation and changed the permission so that people couldn't see it. And so scripts basically tend to, as you use the system, they accumulate, right? Like there are plenty of scripts that I've written that are literally just 2-line, like, hey, I need to push this out real quick and install it. And I need to do that to 50 machines. So this is still a valuable script. I don't need error checking. I don't need, it doesn't need to be robust. It just has to work today.
Just do it.
But like, when you're done with that script, oftentimes you don't remember to delete it. And so like cleaning up after yourself for something like that is important. But also just taking an inventory and a stock and understanding like, hey, this script is never to be run by a person, right? That means that people don't need to see that. And like as an administrator, you want to see that, but like your techs don't need to. So keep things like that in mind, because the easier to use that your system is, the easier that it's going to be for them to adopt and be interested in it. So if they go in there and there's 400 scripts and they're like, I don't know what to use, that's overwhelming. If they go in there and there's 30 scripts and they're all well named and tagged for exactly what they do, that becomes a lot easier. The same is also true for data views, for anything, right? Like use appropriate naming values and conventions, and you'll find that being organized helps everyone, no matter how small you are.
All right, Sean, you have another question? I know.
Yeah, so it's still related to maintenance. The reason why I'm asking all these questions is because we just probably this year we started using Automate. So we probably had it we've spent like 6 months plus migrating from our old platform to the new one. And now we're finally going to start returning it on. We're getting a bunch of computers moved in, and then we realized, the maintenance mode and how it's functioning for us. So I was kind of curious, how many other people in the group are covering worldwide for one Automate instance? And the reason I'm asking this is because we're noticing when we set maintenance mode, even though it's only supposed to respect Eastern time, if I put it in maintenance mode, I'm in Central, it says it's in maintenance mode for an hour, but really in the back end of the system, it's not in maintenance mode. And weird issues like that. So we're noticing if I'm in Eastern or in Pacific time, if I set it in maintenance mode for 2 hours, in the web interface, it still says it's in maintenance mode. But if you're in Eastern time, it's not in maintenance mode. If you're in European time, it's not in maintenance mode. It looks like it is, but it's really not.
So
That's
Sean,
so
are you hosted or are you local?
Hosted.
Okay, I got nothing. I got nothing to say. I was like, man, his database server has the wrong times. Nope.
I don't know. We do cross multiple time zones. We're not quite worldwide, but we are across nationwide, and we cover several time zones. But we also have 24/7 support. We actually do not use maintenance mode in our company. Sometimes I wish we did, honestly, but primarily we don't. So I don't know. I've never experienced that, but it would be something that I'm going to check out because that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a bug. If I'm totally honest, so we're on prem. We have customers everywhere from literally Western Europe all the way over to Japan. So we cover the gambit as far as time zones go. When I set something in maintenance mode, it is in maintenance mode immediately until it is done. So it might be a web interface bug. It could also just be something else going on. I don't know, but it definitely does adhere to the local server time.
Yeah, what Automate version are you running?
I'm 2020.7. Yeah.
Okay.
But it looks, so if you look in the web, it says it's in maintenance mode, but really in the back end, it's not in database.
So have you tried comparing the FAT client versus the web client running it?
When we go to the FAT client, sometimes it tells us, it'll just say unknown. Like, how it tells you how much time's left? Mm-hmm. It doesn't tell you anything. So we're really struggling because what we did is, because of maintenance mode, the reason why it's so important to us is because we're doing database upgrades and migrations, and it could take a month to do this migration. We have so much data that we're moving. So the problem is that we have to put the machine, say it takes 2-3 days, in maintenance mode for that time, and they may be stopping and starting services, and we don't want the system to go, oh, let me start that back up and fix that for you.
Right.
In the middle of the database migration. So it's very important.
You probably should be using just the thick client for it, from the sounds of it. It sounds like there's a web client bug, and I'm sure someone here will shuffle that back to the right people, but you should also maybe create a ticket with Automate. support. Just let them know, like,
definitely
hey,
create a ticket. But I'm going to test that as well. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm curious because we don't use the web interface much.
Someone in chat said to create a maintenance mode script and under the advanced settings, mark agent time.
Oh, and then that would run it in the local time zone. Yeah, that would happen.
So the weird part is that the browser reflects in your time, but whenever it goes back to the system, it reflects on the server time. It's really weird, and it does the calculations. But if you guys open up 3 browsers in 3 different time zones, set the maintenance mode, and watch the difference. Watch the mess.
I just want to regurgitate what Scott said. You know, MySQL and time is finicky. So just keep that in mind. Whatever ConnectWise is trying to do with time and time zones, it's going to be complicated.
It's not just ConnectWise. Handling time in any application is
the least fun.
It's not. It's worse than the least fun. I would rather work inside the Automate client, like 2010, 2013, for the rest of my life. No breaks, than deal with time and trying to match it. It's insane.
I'd rather try to rewrite Gavin's reports from scratch than try to deal with time.
Yes.
Yeah, that is, I think, the best comparison I can give you.
Not saving. You can't save.
Yep, not until you're done.
You have to do it all in one shot. So you got like 10 minutes before it crashes.
Our last platform that we used was all in UTC or GMT time. So you never had to worry if Automate used that as a standard time zone, then it would then, based on the user, convert back to their time if that was a standard in the platform.
Standard? Automate?
Yeah. So what I can tell you that I know about the way Automate works with time. So things that we have discovered from being on the site and having made numerous errors during server upgrades and whatever. The front end web server and the back end SQL server, which are almost certainly exist in the cloud as well, have to be the same time zone, right? And most likely, because you are hosted, they are. As long as those two things are fine, maintenance mode works very well locally, and it has for every version that we've had. The web is going to definitely sort of twist that up because it's also going to have your local time, right? So it's going to have to deal with your local time versus whatever the local time is at the data center that you're hosted out of. And it sounds to me like that's the problem that you're running into, and it sounds to me like it's a bug.
So Dan actually entered this in chat. Got you, Mendy. I read it first.
I know, you got it first. I'm sorry.
He's in Central Time, and his server, for some reason, is in Pacific. But his web client, if he wants to set maintenance mode in the web client, he has to do -2 hours, which it has to be a bug inside the web client. So open a ticket on that, and we'll see if we can poke who we can poke.
You could also set your local time to the time zone of the server.
I could, but I have employees inside Eastern time zone, and I mean not in Eastern, in European time zone. So sure. I'd have to have, I think we have like close to 600-700 technicians. We'd have to have all of them in Eastern time zone worldwide.
That's fine. They don't need to convert.
Host a web application, dude.
Yeah, I like this guy. I should talk to this guy after the stream.
Yeah, you should.
The thing is, so the reason I'm just asking and poking you guys, because I have maybe close to 30, 35, maybe 30 tickets with development now. And I don't really hear much back. I don't really know.
Create your support ticket for maintenance mode and ping me the ticket number after.
It's in there. I'll send it to you.
I'll see what we can do.
As far as dealing with development woes, I can definitely speak to that, as Martin will attest. The trick to getting information back from development is, well, first of all, don't expect it. But second of all, if you really require a status on a specific development ticket, you have a partner success manager. Your partner success manager is really the only avenue by which you're ever going to get support out of the development group. Development group is designed in such a way as that it is not meant to communicate with you. And it's just how it is. Like once development has a ticket, it gets prioritized internally. There's a whole board where, they make prioritization decisions, and I'm privy to this because at various points I've talked to numerous product managers and folks involved in development to kind of understand the process for things where we had a server really have some serious issues for a few months due to some development issues. The one that I talked about earlier, specifically with the EDFs, was a big one. So if you really require a status, like you can kind of force it out of them through your partner success manager, but the problem is like it's still not going to change the priority of your development. Right? So like we were getting biweekly status updates from a product manager for quite some time that was basically like, yep, we're still not working on your issue. And I was like, okay, I mean, what am I going to say about that? I can't, I can't make a developer do something he's not told to do. So it's not really like working with support in that traditional sense. If you have 35 development tickets open, definitely talk to your partner success manager, and maybe there's a conversation that can be had somewhere up the chain. Dealing with ConnectWise corporate is not the most fun or easiest thing in the world to do, but you can get results if you kind of go that route.
Just to add as well, if you don't mind, even in the Geek Slack channel, ping me the ticket numbers there too, please. I'd be very interested to see that. And hopefully,
MSPGeek is another avenue that we have recently been able to utilize to push some things along, especially because the way development prioritizes is based off how many people are running into that issue.
Well, unless you're one really loud individual who constantly set a reminder to have something done, but it's still not done yet.
Well, the reason is because I submitted a ticket today, and sorry guys, I'm taking away time, but the reason I brought it up is because all my development tickets that are inside dev in my queue, I have 3 pages worth on the home portal of just dev tickets that they put into dev because they really are bugs and they've proven their issues, but they're not on the known page. So I'm like, if no one else knows about them, you guys are sitting there troubleshooting these issues. I'm troubleshooting them. They may be known to you guys. And there's so many bugs that I've been waiting for over a year now to be fixed, and you can't even install like EXEs or MSIs sometimes. I mean, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know how many other people know or are visible.
Can we create an MSPGeek page on the forum of known issues?
Yes. Just on the known issues thing, I believe that a known issue will only be shown or displayed on that page you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who decided this, but I do know that the number is 3. So if you logged a ticket and this is like a known issue, and then like, let's just say 15 other people logged it too, but they weren't linked to each other, those 15 would not be seen by the public. But as soon as that KI hits the count of 3, then it's public, then others can see it, and then I believe they can like +1 them, or support can go in there and, well, I know support can obviously link KIs. But yeah, I don't think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there is there a +1 button out there right now? Or like I have this as well, like me too.
I don't venture into the known issues because all the issues I know are known.
I know that is on the enhancement forums, but but yeah, just can you do me a favor, and just ping me a few, just a few of those ticket numbers. I'd love to.
And let's get validation throughout other people in the community with issues. We can raise the awareness of ConnectWise as to how many people are affected, which will then raise the priority. It may not raise priority enough to be instantly addressed because there's always going to be severity levels, but it will raise it a little bit, or a lot of it, depending on what the issue is and how many people are affected. So let's get some more information and get people testing on it. That's what the community.
We do have some contacts we can reach out to help. With some issues like this, and we've gotten, it's very surprising the amount of integration ConnectWise team has started to reach out with us for. So that's been fantastic. So we have some additional resources we can try to poke as well if there's a major issue that we need to know about.
And Sean, if you can get with me for a little while on the Slack afterwards, I'll give you some helpful resources as well.
Scott has like 10,000 bajillion agents, and he'll tell you how to rebuild your entire automate.
Someone just posted in chat, by the way, about a setting in the dashboard that's disabled by default, and that the manual, I think, says if you uncheck this, it disables time zone compensation in Control Center. It disables the program's internal time zone compensation. If disabled, all machines must be time synchronized and all in the same time zone. And he wants to know if, Sean, if support ever mentioned that setting to you.
No, that
settings changed.
Oh, well, see, there we go.
There's a link to the manual on that chat as well. You can just pull up the Zoom chat, you'll see it.
That will break your agents, though. You probably don't want to do that. Like when it says all machines, it literally means all machines in your instance. So you're probably not going to have a lot of success with that setting.
But it says it's disabled by default.
Yeah, sorry, that's the control center one. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm thinking about when you run scripts. It's now just server time, agent time. I apologize. I spoke too soon.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this is a
as you were.
control center
Sorry.
one.
Yep.
So there's a link posted to documentation, Sean. You can check that out. See if support said anything to you about it, and if it even changes anything. You may want to try it on a. Do you have a? I'm assuming you have a dev instance, right?
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4 instances of Automate. So
Okay, so you can try it out on something small that nobody cares about and see how that works.
I didn't expect to find like the one guy that has more of a large Automate instance than I do on this call.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see there's all these large partners. I mean, I think Workin's finally considered a large partner.
Yeah.
We do still have some hands raised, by the way. I don't want to focus too long.
Oh, sorry.
on-
Yeah, Decon. I'm
sorry,
unmuting you.
I'm
He was
sorry.
first. No, you're good.
Thanks. No, it's hard to follow up that one. But I wanted to ask about the script automation time. It seems kind of like limited in the fact that I can really just set the time in the little box. But then I got to go through all the scripts, kind of set it myself, and it's really just the time. But I'm kind of wondering if there's a way to tally it by tech almost. Like I just need more detail.
So
as
that
far as,
box,
like-
that box is designed so that you guesstimate how much of time an individual will take to manually reproduce what you're automating for calculation.
Okay. So any suggestions for kind of enhancing that? Like maybe I was thinking like having kind of just a script to run at the beginning of each script to kind of calculate that, or at the end of it.
It's
So-
set
So
once.
it's not supposed to be necessarily how long the script takes to run. It's supposed to be how much time are you saving? It's supposed to be meant for how long would this process take if the script wasn't in use.
Yeah,
Right.
so my goal is to kind of gamify it for our knock techs to where it's like I can see, okay, this person, is running, these scripts and they're saving X amount of time by using, the scripts instead. Like right now it's kind of a total thing, but I kind of want to make it more specific to the tech who's running it.
So I'm going to throw Martin under the bus over here again, because it is a script engine, even though he's not officially here as part of ConnectWise, and he's a little bit drunk. But he's
Well,
not
he's
drunk.
a lot of bit.
He's
There we
a
go.
lot of it drunk.
I am prepared. I am prepared.
Got it.
I'm not drunk. I'm just prepared.
So,
So I
there was a ConnectWise Now is like the dashboard that nobody wants to talk about, but there was a widget.
It's going away.
There was a widget inside of it that would essentially give you statistics of how many scripts were being run by which technicians and how much time was spent on those scripts. So like how much time those scripts ran for by a technician. And that information is obviously pulled from the database somewhere.
From the H scripts table.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
is
kind of
it
remember
HTML?
seeing that.
It's
Hey, Connor, are you on prem or are you hosting?
I'm on Prem, yeah.
So you're great. Just find out where that is and then write a SQL query to pull out, the scripts grouped by tech.
just
Or else run by
Display
user.
on Grafana.
Yeah,
Use
display it
like
in Grafana.
okay.
Martin,
Or
do you
like
remember which
break
table
in.
that's looking at? Or
H scripts.
Yeah, it's H scripts and the user audit table for sure.
Yeah, H scripts, users table, and also the actual
LT run
time
by-
saved.
just run
The
by
actual
user.
time saved by automation is literally in the LT_scripts table. It's just called, the column is automation time. So essentially you're getting a count of the number of times scripts have ran, multiply it by the automation time, and that's, as Mendy said, that's geared to be the time. Hey, that would have taken me 35 minutes to do. Okay, it's not tied to, it's not tied to billing. It is not tied to ticketing. Those are still completely their own untouched systems.
Yeah.
This was just for the sake of, again, just promoting, helping gain traction with a, mature an automation culture within the business. And if gamification is, we're all techs, we all like gaming. So, gamification is fine. And it was one of those features that when I added it, it was a case of, hey, we could have really added a lot of bells and whistles to this, but it's more of a case of, well, let's first see how everybody uses it first. And then we'll
build it out from there.
Yeah, then we'll add a little bit more to it at that time, because at the end of the day, that feature is in there just showing you information in your database that's been there for the longest time. So I'm not going to tell you how you should use your data. I want you to tell me how you use your data, and then if I can make it, if I can present that to present that data to you in a much more digestible fashion, then that's what I'm going to do. If you're familiar with the new scripts grid, for instance, in patch 6, and also now we have added information panels in patch 7. Do you have web loaded anywhere?
I'm pulling it up right now.
All right. So go to your scripts grid. It's under the automation section on the left.
We gotta wait 15 minutes for it to load. Give us a second.
This is web. It's 14 minutes. Don't be silly.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I told you, Mendy, you need to really add some RAM to this instance.
More RAM than you think.
Is this
okay? I have 12 gigs. I've got 6 cores. Chillax.
Look, I'm just telling you that your web interface runs slower than ours, and I don't know why.
And he's hosted.
No.
I don't know what Dan is drinking, but he looks incredibly comfortable there right now.
Dan is always like that. Though.
Drinking from the stem of the glass. That is very classic.
I'm not going to unmute him because he'll drag on for hours.
So if we click on a particular script, let's say, so just click on all scripts. Oh, I'm going to have to increase the size of your screen here a bit. All right. Click on all scripts and then search for defrag. Do you have a filter on there?
I don't know, because it looks like I'm missing some scripts, huh?
Yeah, you are.
A few.
Maybe
I don't have a filter there.
You have more than 4. Just click on a folder.
I'll just refresh, see what happens.
System crash. Delete system 32.
Well, anyway.
Now I got none.
Log out, log back in. So anyway, just actually leave it there just for a minute.
Okay.
All right. So you got general references and stats. This information is in the database. It's all of this has been there for the longest time. Obviously, general, that's just description, parameters, and permissions. So you can see who has the edit and execute permission. This references tab, this took quite some time to actually get right. This is basically going to tell you, if you have a script selected, it's going to tell you what in the system is referencing that script. So for instance, you'll then look at this script and say, hey, this script is run 5,000 times. Why? Well, now you can see that it's click on the references tab. This won't have any references because that's just an example script, but just leave it there for a minute. So let's say, all right, this script is run 5,000 times. There's a problem. Why is it run that many number of times? Well, this is going to tell you the number of schedules and what the schedules are, where the script is attached to, script schedules. It's also going to tell you which internal monitor or remote monitor also calls and uses that script. And same for alert templates. The remote monitor works if the script is attached. If the remote monitor is tied to an alert template, that alert template calls a script, that'll tell you. If the remote monitor has an alert template set to just run script, and you define the script directly on the monitor, the remote monitor will also show there. So this information has been in your database for years. It's just a nice, easy, digestible way of representing that, because one of the common challenges that every Automate admin has had over the years, including myself, was there are so many different bits and pieces to this system, but how do they all tie together? That was the kicker. And then when you finally understand and realize how it all does piece together, your level of automation will just, each light bulb moment, it'll just it's fantastic when you get those. This information panel stuff here, hopefully will make those light bulb moments happen more often and, not 8 or 9 months in between each one of them, so.
Yeah, this is awesome. That's exactly what I needed.
Yeah. So the other thing I can offer you here that's unrelated to Automate and is just a business practice. The result of somebody making good use of scripts is that they're going to resolve more issues. Obviously your idea is a good one where, you're trying to make a game out of it. And I think that's cool. But at the end of the day, you could also just gamify like the number of things resolved, and you'll sort of achieve the same result depending on your level of comfort with building out that gamification in Automate.
Yep.
Just as a thought, that's how we've done that internally. We basically just started posting a leaderboard for people who like close the most tasks, and obviously there needs to be a culture in place where people aren't going to just go through and hammer easy tasks and do garbage work. But as long as you have that in place, then you're in pretty good shape, and people will tend to get competitive over it. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah, a couple of things as well to note from when I was on the partner side. One, the T1 who asks, like, you'll have the T1 and you'll be like, if X, then click this button. Okay, fine, I'm going to click that button whenever I need to. But then you'll get the T1 who's like, hey, when I click this button, what does it do? And you're like, ooh, okay. Let's tap into that and let's see maybe if he's interested in, maybe developing into a T2. Like when they ask questions like that, that's really awesome. And another thing is we changed our tact a little bit when we were hiring, because system engineers, they roll in, roll out pretty frequently, right? We actually hired an automation engineer. He hadn't used Automate, but that wasn't the point. You can always teach the tech. You can't train the personality. You can't train the mindset. So we actually hired automation engineers who'd use Puppet and Chef and Ansible. And granted, they didn't know Automate, but on the flip side, we didn't really know those tools either. So then we were able to marry the 4 tools together with the automation engineer who all he wants to do is build automation. Because I've got my techs. My techs are fine. They can handle, tech things. I can't train their mindset. I can't train their personality to think automation. I can teach them how to tech though. That's easy. So again, that was just something that we did. We actually started that just before I left. So I only actually got to work with the 2 automation engineers before I did leave the MSP I was with. But just in the 3 months before I left, the automation was it went really well for them.
All right. And on that note, Chris has another question. So I've unmuted you.
Save the best for last?
Maybe.
Sure, why not?
I know. We have a customer who, in the pandemic, sent everybody home with the computers off their desktops, as I'm sure many of you experienced. They're having a particular issue with one of their applications, which is a soft phone application, their call center, mortgage call center kind of deal, right? And everybody's at home using their soft phone on their PC. And they're having all sorts of call quality issues, right? So we're diving in with all the phone providers and all that stuff. But one of the things I'd like to figure out how to automate or consolidate is a way to track the local performance from that desktop PC in somebody's home, right? Home router, home internet, stuff we don't support, but collect data about it. So when they call and say, hey, my call quality was bad, maybe they can, hit something in the desktop icon. You guys gave me an idea with the script of like hit a button, maybe it collects some logs or picks something up and reports it, creates a ticket, but also some way to collect data over time, right? Extended ping tests or stuff like that, so we can watch trends happen. And kind of tied to that question, I haven't been really, I don't know, maybe I'm just not looking in the right spots, but I haven't been very impressed with the long-term data trending collection capabilities of Automate, right? Show me a ping results, over a week, over a month, zoom in, zoom out. We actually, for our servers, use a different monitoring tool for that sort of stuff because it's very graphical and that kind of stuff. But in this scenario around, you got a bunch of distributed people at home, all running soft phones on their desktops. Anybody have any ideas of what we could do to kind of automate data collection for them and automate some of the trending so that when we do get a specific issue to troubleshoot, we've got some data already collected that maybe was historical?
So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, do you already have in mind tools to use to gather that data? Not necessarily storing, because Automate won't do it for you.
Yeah, no, we don't, right? That's kind of what we want to do is build something and automate. And then the other piece of this, I guess it goes hand in hand, is a lot of those customers working from home up close are on Wi-Fi. And that's the biggest issue, right? Is that like, hey, you're on Wi-Fi. Like, of course your VoIP quality is garbage, right? So
right.
Some way to monitor, like, hey, were you on Wi-Fi? Like, fire up a ticket. This call center agent's using Wi-Fi to, take their calls. Like that So both Wi-Fi and then a long-term data collection. To your point, we don't have any tools in mind.
Right. So the next question comes to, because you want to figure out what tool to use, right? What type of data do you actually want to get? Because you can go crazy. You can go Wireshark, run command, and just start rolling capture every 5 minutes. And when they complain, upload the last 5-minute capture through a ticket that you guys can analyze and see your RTP loss that's been going on. And you can see your latency, your RTP loss, and how many packets have been dropped, or what packets are, coming in out of order, things like that. So if you want to do something like that, it's going to be a little nuts, but you can.
I think we want to start basic, right? It's like, even if it's just a ping results of drop latency, we're looking for latency jitter drop packets, right? Or the kind of
right.
Yeah. So we've done a lot with trying to collect data over time. We ended up giving up on LabTech doing that. Like one of the suggestions in chat here is Telegraph, Influx Database, and Grafana. That's not the stack that we went with, but it is definitely a common and fairly popular one amongst the community. We, on the other hand, have an ELK stack. So it's Elastic with Logstash and Kibana. And we use Metrics Beat for things of that nature if we want to do things like that. You can also pull data from like a PRTG or the LabTech probe in some cases. So like pulling data from LabTech as a point in time works pretty well.
Right. But not over a period of time.
Right. So like LabTech can provide you with point in time data super well because it gathers that all the time, but it does not in fact have much of a time plotting database or anything like that.
Yeah. So you can use like a ping remote monitor and then pull that information off the LabTech database into Influx TV using Telegraph and then displaying Grafana, or using ELK or something like that to collect the data from a point in time, which honestly we do for WAN monitoring. We showcased on IT Nation was one of the examples showing how we have automated WAN monitoring based off our documentation. It's completely documentation driven. So you can do something like that. You can do ping monitors on everyone's remote computers to the internet, which will give you latency. And if you do, instead of doing the built-in ping monitor, you can do remote monitor with PowerShell or command prompt with a customized ping command, which will then output the results of how many pings, what the drop was and latency of each one. And it's going to take, go ahead.
There is a sort of hacky thing you can do to just do a basic thing in LabTech, and we should show that off because it's fun. So if you create your own table in the database that begins with the word plugin _, it will not get deleted during a database update or a version upgrade. So you could create, for example, plugin _ ping monitor, right? And in there, you can define whatever schema you want and whatever indexes you want. So for example, just as a very basic one, you could create a table called plugin _ ping monitor that has computer ID and ping time and current time. Pretty straightforward, right? You could set up a remote monitor that pings every minute, every 5 minutes, however often you want to check. The result of that remote monitor, you could set to anything. Not anything, sorry, nothing. So you would expect it to get nothing, meaning that if it succeeds, it fails. I know that's a little weird, but essentially you're wanting to get an alert every time that it comes back, right? You take that, and the result of that, you're going to use a script to then execute against the database to update a line in this table. So you're going to add a line to this table that adds the computer ID, the current time, and the ping result. Then you can use some sort of analysis, either a tool or you could build a script or whatever to just group by computer ID, and then you'd have a history of those that interaction through a custom table. And if your eyes are glossed over, I'm really sorry.
I'm with you. I mean, we just use. I totally get what you're saying with ELK and all the different solutions that are here. It's just outside automate.
Right. This would be like the simple solution. So we do this for a few things. We track some Active Directory accounts this way. So we find out we do some security stuff this way. We also do. We have a history of scheduled tasks which we use this way, which is a little bit weird, but essentially we have a table that we have just a history of the last year's worth of scheduled tasks that were created or decreated on a given workstation. And the reason for that is there's just a lot of malware that goes that way. So it's one of the things that we use, again, for security. So there's lots of uses for these custom tables. The thing you need to be very aware of, right, is you have to be on-prem for that. You can't just, well, I mean, technically, I guess I could probably build a script to create a table, but I suspect strongly that lab tech support will give you a call if you do that. my suspicion is they would really not like that. First, you really need to be on-prem for that. And then second, you do need to be mindful of the potential impact to your database if you make that that table too complex, right? It's definitely very possible to do some real bad stuff to your database that way. So
yeah, any kind of database work that you're doing yourself is definitely not going to be supported by ConnectWise. Just keep that in mind. Yeah. And you do need to prefix it with plugin underscore, because otherwise your permissions will get messed up during nightly maintenance.
Yep. You also will not be able to build data views that anyone other than super admins can see out of that table.
Right.
Because you have to actually have a plugin to assign permissions to the table. So you can't have like regular text be able to see that or whatever, but your scripts can still pull data out of it as long as they're, executing against that table.
It's the same for views too. So if you create a custom view, you got to be super admin. Otherwise, you have to constantly build a script to reset all permissions based on that, which is a horrible way to do it, but it's the only way to do it because of Automate. Yay.
Yeah. And one other thing I will say as well, like if you're putting in a lot of information into your database, obviously it's increasing the size of it, it's lowering the performance of it. So that's where if it's like, okay, I'm seriously wanting to keep a lot of data in my lab tech database, that's now where you start potentially looking at like MySQL data warehousing as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 100%. Like this is a perfectly acceptable solution for a small number of machines.
Event logs.
Yeah.
If you're pulling event logs inside of it, you're pulling event logs. Most people are, and you have your retention over anything past 10 minutes. The way the event logs pulls out data, it pulls the last 300 records since the last time it ran. And if you're using an internal monitor to check for things in the event logs, you're not going to find what you want. You should always remote monitor event logs.
Yeah, and services.
And services. The data collection, it's just, I don't know. I guess they just didn't want to pull all the data, which is kind of understandable considering some of the size of the event logs. But
how bad it is right now.
Yeah, it's not pulling in any data, so do not rely on internal monitors for event logs, and basically just delete them. They're almost useless, and they just collect a ton of data.
The only thing I've used event logs for in the database is in the odd occasion, it doesn't happen often, where a customer reports an issue they had with their computer, but the computer is no longer online because they're traveling. So then in that situation, I can go back and see like the last 10 minutes or something like that of the event logs. I don't need to go back too far. They just reported the issue and I can see, oh yeah, your Outlook just crashed and here's the error that happened or something like that. Or we can see your computer shut down unexpectedly. We can pull that off the database. It's the only reason why I use it. It's not a good idea to monitor off it using internal monitors.
Yeah. One thing as well for event logs, set the retention on those for 3 days. Because you can't really do anything useful with an event log from 4 or 5 days ago. And chances are, if you're looking through event logs 4 or 5 days ago for something that happened, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to want to be on that machine anyway.
Yeah.
Not to mention, the bigger you are, the lower time you want that to be.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
How about tracking if the user's using Wi-Fi versus a wired LAN connection?
So... you can do there's the thing. Well, one second. It comes down to how you're going to build it all out, right? So are you going to give them a script to run to report the issue? And if so, their script will grab that information. Or alternatively, you can have a remote monitor that runs on a recurring basis, checking to see what connection is active, and then having that'll be updated in the database. Based off of the result. It'll be in the remote monitor database, or you can have it set in EDF or whatever, or a custom table again, like what Scott was saying. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Actually, one of the things I did want to mention, going back to how Kyle said this is not a specific product, this is not about a specific product. There is a product we use that I'm going to plug for a second called the Help Desk button. It is a button, literally a physical button. It connects to your USB port. It integrates with the agent that's not LabTech. It's its own agent from helpdeskbuttons.com. When you press that button, it grabs the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 clicks that occurred on the computer based off the buffer that it captures. And it does all sorts of scripting in terms of diagnostics. It checks the internet connection. It checks Wi-Fi connection, network. It checks to see last time the computer was restarted. It checks to see your performance, memory, CPU, etc. It sends out a report. If you go to tier2tickets.com, it'll be a video, a demo of it, and it'll show that product. We use it. Our customers love it. It's amazing. We've gotten a ticket, for example, about a customer who wasn't able to print, and the report came through. We opened up the report in big red. It had the Wi-Fi name highlighted because it had the word guest inside of it. We're like, yeah, you can't print because you're on the freaking guest network, you idiot. And it took, like, the idea of the product is to remove the tier 1 from the line. Like, every ticket that comes through should be a tier 2 ticket, essentially. It removes tier 1 from the equation because it gathers all the information a tier 2 would need to work on the issue immediately, and therefore drives resolution to be faster. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say about the product. We use it. It's great. Our customers love it. And it's a great marketing gimmick too, because the end users like the idea of being able to press a button and get support. So check that out. That may give you what you want in terms of a basic network snapshot and performance output of the computer. Just they press the button and they submit the ticket and it's done. It's 2 steps. It's easy.
It is a really handy tool, and they have a very productive roadmap. And I'm excited to see where they go, where they go from where they're at. So, Scott, I did not start the Twitch stream. We are not Twitch streaming. We are Zoom calling. I'm recording this via Zoom, so if it's garbage, then you can blame Zoom.
Whatever.
But it won't be garbage.
It'll be garbage. We're all talking on it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah,
Sick burn.
Twitch is good for
Any other questions?
There's no hands raised.
You know what? I got an idea. I'm going to unmute everyone since we're towards the end. You are now allowed to unmute yourself. So feel free to just unmute yourself and ask questions. Berate Mendy for talking so long about something you didn't really care about. Berate Mendy for not talking about something you do care about, like animal rights.
I just want to say thanks for doing stuff like this. Like, this is absolutely awesome that, doing these deep dives into Automate. I don't really get the chance to do that because I'm the only one who does Automate. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. I mean, without us, without you, we wouldn't really be here. So it's nice to have all you guys. I can say that we've probably had about 45 different individual people I've let into this call throughout the night, and stuff like that's just amazing. I mean, you guys hanging out with us and asking questions and participating in the conversation. I mean, it helps everybody. It's not just us that provide the content, even though we're mainly speaking tonight.
Yeah, and another thing as well that Deacon pointed out as well is that he's the only Automate admin. Right. Well, I'm sure a lot of us are the only Automate admin. So having forums like this, it's definitely beneficial because, it's nice just to kind of bounce the ball off a wall, kind of get an idea, and eventually one will stick. Okay, cool. Well, when you're on your own, sometimes it might take a little while to, am I doing this the right way? Because I really don't have anybody to talk to who really gets it. So just having that, it's really good. Yeah.
The rubber duck. I mean, ask Mendy. I solved so many problems. Just say, Mendy, I can't figure out this problem. And then halfway through the conversation, I'm like, shut up, Mendy, go away. And then I fix it. I mean, you just got to communicate the problem to someone and, it just starts working. I don't know how you're being creative.
I have a request for you, Kyle. This is a very important request. So I don't ask a lot of questions. So is there a way that you could go to literally any website that has Morgan Freeman quotes and just read them?
You want me to read Morgan Freeman quotes?
Could you just do that for us? You've got a very Morgan Freeman voice. I don't know if you're aware. It's very soothing. I feel good when you talk.
Well, that's nice. I'm not even on my good microphone. The best way to guarantee a loss is to quit.
There you go. See? Perfect. I love it. It's great.
It's a Morgan Freeman quote.
It is.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You're going to relegate my history to a month. Wait, that's not good.
I don't think that one's one you should
No.
read. Yeah.
But I can say that life has been good to me, has been and is good. So I think my task is to be good to it. So how do you be good to life? You live it.
There you go. See, it would have been better if you didn't screw it up, but it was great. I loved it. It's perfect.
Not prepared for this. It's too much pressure. It's too much
All right,
pressure.
yeah, well, next time you can practice. It's fine.
This should just
I'll
be a
practice.
Twitch channel. This should just be like a Twitch channel.
I'll make it an
where
emoticon.
it's
I'll make it a
just
little
like-
emote. You just pops up and says, Kyle now has to read a Morgan Freeman quote. $5. You got to give me $5 for that to happen, though. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, I mean that's right. You gotta donate.
This isn't a charity.
I mean, it kind of is.
Not yet.
Yeah, he's on Fiverr.com.
Unofficial. Oh, Fiverr. Oh, it should. We should put like an MSPGeek admin team Fiverr thing.
Yeah.
Darren, write me a script. That'll be $2 million, please. Someone asked when the next one is. We don't have plans specifically for a next one. We'd like to do these once a month, but we'd also like to do Geekcasts once a month, and we'd like to do other things, monthly digests once a month.
Yeah.
I was told they do these every day.
We do every day. It's just they're private one-on-one conversations where someone's screaming about someone else.
Okay.
So that's generally how it works.
And the
but
one-on-one, you are the one.
It's just me
And the
talking to a
one.
mirror.
It's just me.
Yeah. It wouldn't run the script. It just stood there. I didn't give me
But
anything back.
one-
It just kept going.
So one thing that I think would be pretty cool to do is obviously, kind of like develop that regular cadence. So something where it would be like, okay, so and I'm just making this up right now. Sorry, Kyle. Like the second Tuesday of the month, we did this, or the third Wednesday of the month, we did that. And
So when are you playing the next one, Martin?
I mean,
you have the login credits to this account. I'm just saying.
A lot of people have been asking me questions lately for remote monitors for network devices, and I don't want to like self-plug and whatnot, but I don't mind doing another one of those if everybody wants one.
Why don't you just do it right now?
Yes.
No, we don't have time for that now.
It's a little late.
We're on
No,
like
it's fine.
we've passed the plateau of like good information, and now we're just on like shit talking everything.
Oh damn! And I was gonna ask a good question too.
Oh, ask a
Oh no,
question.
please do.
The answer you get may not be great.
Okay, I've been having issues with like sensors.
Okay.
As far as like trying to like some get picked up, some don't. I don't know. And then I know there's a check that disabled sensor deal. I can't even find it right now. I was trying to find it. I couldn't. But
oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Isn't that a property?
temperature, speed or like.
I think they disabled that out of the box now, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
disabled out of the box. You have to enable it via property, I believe.
Oh, so this is the power, the voltage, the temperature,
Yeah,
that stuff.
right.
Okay. Yeah, wow, I've not touched that for a while, but I do know what you're talking about.
I think they was turned off for a reason, honestly, Gary. Probably because it doesn't work very well.
Go to configurations. No, integrations, right?
Is
it Ignite, you mean?
Is it Ignite setting?
Ignite. Sensor
Yes,
monitors.
yes. Right there, it should be on the sensors, right?
So you want to disable laptop. So 1.
Okay.
Disable server creation. Well, that's
right,
up
but
to you.
I want to enable them, so it's the other way.
So that would be a 0.
No, it looks like
that would be set
no, you're good.
correctly.
Yeah. 0.
Well, no, because you'd want to disable desktops and disable laptops, but enable servers. Basically, it's all sensor creation.
Yeah.
Right.
What I would do is change the interval between check to 60, and then alert frequency would be like every
Fifth.
like I don't know, like 6th, every 6th.
Every
so that would
6 seconds.
6
That is
fail.
seconds, sir.
Wow.
No.
The interval is 60.
The interval is a minute,
Oh, okay.
and
I
the
see what
number
you're
of
saying.
checks is 6. So the first one starts the clock, and then it's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. The 6th one being the 5th consecutive minute.
Okay.
So, and then so basically, if this temperature is sustained, over 80 for 5 minutes or whatever the threshold is, then you'll get the alert.
Okay.
All right, I'll leave that as right. Thanks.
And then always click the save button on top.
Yeah, and the
Welcome
60
to
and
Ignite.
the
Yeah,
60
done a
and
lot of work,
5.
and then I don't save it, and then I'm like, ah.
So I have a question for you, Gary. Do you have a lot of physical servers where that would be useful?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you have a lot of physical servers where that would be useful?
Some, because some people don't have like those server rooms. So
Sure, man. No, it's just it's an interesting thing.
So I need to know what's going on before they do. Otherwise, I'm not at the location, so I don't have some places I don't have somebody there.
Sure.
So,
I was curious because we definitely don't see a lot of physical servers that we could monitor this way. Like they're ESX hosts or things that we just don't, we can't put an agent on. So
well, I deal with like construction companies, so some of them have things on the field, and there's a place to put a server room to put like AC coming in. Some of them are actual trailers, so it tends to be a pretty hot environment. So I want to make sure that I know what's going on in there.
That's cool. I just was curious. It's an interesting thing, right? Like obviously we have a lot of customers in a lot of different industries, but it seems like the number of physical servers that we could monitor with this have gone down dramatically. So that's I assume why by default they're turned off nowadays. So I think it's cool to find other use cases. That's all.
Can I just add 2 things real quick?
Why not, Martin? Go ahead.
All right. So first off, if it's construction, then you probably want to set the check for like the 11th check. So like keep like a 10 minutes above a particular temperature.
It says values were 1 to 10.
Does it?
The alert frequency, you mean?
Yeah, acceptable values are 1 to 10.
Okay.
So set it to 10.
10 then. And the second thing,
like
no.
It broke it because it said it 11.
And the second thing is, if this is like legitimately like returning results for you, and this is where like you now as an MSP could maybe like step a little bit above and beyond and say, hey, as part of our remote monitoring management services, would you be interested in our environment monitoring services as well?
Right.
And then if they actually agree to that cost, whatever you deem that to be, you now could potentially take that revenue and purchase like, it's autumn. This doesn't do environment monitoring.
I know that actually works. Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually then go buy an actual equipment that does it's strictly for environment monitoring. So just a thought.
Man, the entrepreneur is just coming out of you like just flowing.
That's because he doesn't get to do it very much anymore because
I
he's
know.
stuck talking.
I know.
He's stuck talking. I need this feature. Why won't you code this feature?
No, I've used the product since 2012. And then, so I was based in Kansas City, Missouri. And then 2017, December, I think it was, then I moved down to Florida and started working for ConnectWise as a product manager for Automate.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's like a ton of different things that I want to do with this tool, but I'm like, oh man, that's not my day-to-day anymore. So like when you say something like that, and I'm like, well, here's what I'd do. I mean,
yeah,
take it or leave it.
Not only with Automate, but I noticed with other platforms that the same deal. It's like the day-to-day, they don't get it. Like I feel like engineers are like super smart to put all this stuff together. I mean, I couldn't even like find my way out of a paper bag with compared to all this, right? But when I look at like the day-to-day that is so basic, they tend to like just miss it and don't get it. And you ask for features that you will need, and they just like, yeah, put it as a request and we'll look into it.
Ask Darren about that one day with remote PowerShell
monitors. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, but no,
Darren has been asking for remote, so just to get you, just how hilarious this is. Darren set up an auto reminder to poke an entire channel that we have with ConnectWise guys every day at like 1 p.m. Eastern. It sends in at everyone, hey, remote PowerShell monitor still on our thing. Here's code on how to implement it. At least I think it would work this way. And it just pops in. You're just like, hey, so and so, just check it in on this, and it's just like it's for like 2 weeks now straight. It's been fantastic. So
I wouldn't call it fantastic. I'd call it more annoying, but
I think it's amazing.
To your point though, Gary, though. So again, because I've used the tool for a long time, and my background is being a tech, T1, T3, senior. Right. It's like for instance, like the tabs on the script grid. as a user of this product, I'm like, okay, I know the data is in the database, and I'm creating data views. I'm creating this custom this.
Okay.
Why not just fucking put it there? Why not just put it there in the first place? So now we've not got a bunch of people making their own,
Film version of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for everybody doing as much custom stuff as they want, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to solve the business need.
Right.
So
fastest way. Right.
Anyone have any other questions or anything? I mean, it's a free room, so you can just unmute yourself and start talking.
I got something interesting I found on MSPGeek. This guy got totally murdered, like totally hacked. I'll post the thread.
Oh yeah, we're aware of it.
Oh,
Screen Connect?
Yeah, Screen Connect.
That was posted the other day, right?
You said murder.
Today.
I'm like, oh my god.
Well, he may as well have been. His business was.
At first, I thought it was a very I thought he was leading with this like it was very sarcastic, like it was a Darren post or something. But yes, so there's a lot of unknowns with that, and I have a lot of questions that came up when I first read this that I don't see are quite answered at this point in time. But I wouldn't put it into the realm of the other issues that were found out recently.
Yeah, my guess is he also had Automate and it wasn't on 2020.7. That's what I'm taking a stab at if I had to take a guess.
I think he just had a weak password on the account that didn't have MFA.
Also possible.
He posted it an hour ago and he said he had 16 random characters in that password.
Oh, is this a new post?
There's some like it's very it's not as cut and dry as some of the other issues that have popped up. And I don't know of anyone straight hacking Screen Connect at this time. Their code's pretty robust unless you install an extension that gives someone access to something. That'd be the only way I could think of that there'd be any issues.
There were those few issues that happened, I want to say like a year ago-ish. I don't remember exactly the time frame where they had like 5 or 6 issues that got patched, and I haven't heard anything since.
They had they haven't had any security. They had like a certificate issue recently, reminiscent of D-Day 2019. But that was quickly
There was
fixed.
that ConnectWise phishing email that went out, right? So maybe someone fell for a phishing email.
Ooh, maybe because
that could well be.
Yeah, it looked pretty legit.
That looked really, really legit. That was scary.
It's weird seeing the products you use daily get phished.
I know.
What I'm trying to figure out is how they got our email addresses. Who sold our emails?
I mean, that could be. There's a database somewhere. It wasn't us.
I can tell you that
it probably wasn't MSPGeek, but it might have been.
I can tell you it wasn't MSPGeek, and it was not actually ConnectWise because we didn't get that email.
We didn't either. Well, I didn't.
I didn't either. Actually.
If user is Scott, do not send email.
I mean, that'd be great. I'd love it if people were like underground. We're just like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't screw with this guy. Like, that sounds great.
What's more, maybe this guy will like tell on us. Let's not say anything to him.
How do I sign up for that list?
It's called.
I'm just looking. Oh, sorry,
go ahead. You go ahead, Martin.
I was just looking at the questions here, in the chat. Malon, do you use the VM plugin? So I am the product manager for that.
Are you?
I avoided saying anything. I brought it up. I was going to say something, and I was like, maybe Martin's in charge. Maybe I shouldn't. Sorry, go on.
It's crap. Fix it. Make it better.
Kyle.
Anybody else? Anybody else at all?
Well, no. Why would I give you specifics? I mean, you're Martin. I can just say it's not good. Make it better, and then you'll make it better. I've got full confidence that you could make it better.
So, Martin, do you still have that script I sent you to find ESX hosts?
Hang on. Is it Malon? Oh, it's probably like a first initial last name. You want to unmute yourself and ask the question? What was the VM plugin question? I'm super curious.
It's Malin.
Okay, sorry.
And I doubt it's going to web anytime soon, Sean.
Oh, is it going to web? No plans as yet for that.
It's gotta work first.
It's gotta work. So, Malin, what
I couldn't help myself.
Did you have a specific question about the plugin, Malin, or were you just curious about if people use it? Because we do use it internally ourselves. It's part of our proactive health checks to make sure that hosts are healthy. They have to implement a lot of other additional checks to make sure the information is correct. But for the most part, they do like it. And when I turned it off on them, they were very mad. So
it can be useful as when I used it at my old company, I primarily used it as a data monitoring tool that I reported off of in the database. I didn't use any of the features aside from it telling me what the data was.
Yeah,
and
there was another vendor plugin, which I won't name because that wouldn't be fair.
Please.
The plugin was very, very good at collecting data, but the monitors were a little bit.
I used that one too.
We used that product, and I gutted all the monitors and rewrote them myself.
Okay.
And then you gave them to him.
I did.
Okay. I am not going to mention the vendor at all.
Nope, me neither. I know who you're talking about. There are other monitors out
Fantastic
there.
at collecting data.
Yep.
Yep.
He used Python. Of course he did. It was
an out-of-date version of Python.
2.7. You got to live that 2010 life.
Yeah. But anyways, yes, we should not have that conversation for sure. But there are other vendors out there, and if you would run across a plugin that you think might be good, you're welcome to discuss it on the MSPGeek Slack, and somebody will give you feedback.
That is true. If anyone here happens to run across a script or something and they want someone to check it out, just post it and be like, hey, has anyone used this slightly dodgy looking plugin and or script? Any feedback? And we'll be like, don't install it.
Who's this sketchy Darren White guy?
Yeah, don't install anything. That is probably one of the only people I would be like, just install it and run it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just tell him any issues and he'll fix it. You don't have to know what he's talking about. Just do it and you'll be good.
I will say Darren is one of the few people out there who checks with me to make sure that stuff runs on my instance before he publishes it occasionally, if he thinks that it might have like an impact on a large database. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you didn't see that one script we had. Oh my God, those.
Oh. I do vet his stuff though. I'm so paranoid that I will vet anything that's going into my system, regardless of whether he wrote it or not.
I mean, that's fair. I would hope that anyone in here would do that, even if you trusted the individual. You want to test it. You never know how some software is finicky. I mean, look at Automate.
Yeah. The only person I trust to give me something that won't break my Automate instance during the day is Martin.
It looks like
even then I'd be very suspicious.
I mean, suspicious, but I'll still do
I'm glad that he said during the day because
Malin looks like he unmuted himself. He may have a question.
Oh, great.
Or not.
Go forth and conquer, dude. What do you got?
We can't hear anything.
Damn it, my mic. I mean, we could have like a big group troubleshooting. I hear there's a lot of IT people on this call.
So
Try them plugging it and plugging back in yet.
I said, oh, damn it. I was going to say, if anybody mentions anything about that, boot them. But it does work like 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah. It wouldn't be advice if it didn't actually work, right?
I remember watching a film with the wife a while ago. It was The Rock, and it was like the skyscraper building. I don't know what the film was called now. And I don't know, his wife saved the day by, turning the building security system off and on again, and then she was able to get in and do stuff. And I'm like, just shaking my head at the TV like, oh my God, this is just so predictable.
And on the other hand, there have definitely been times where I'm like, well, why don't we just reboot the NVR? Oh, hey, look, all the cameras work. I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah. Don't think it's time for new NVR.
I mean, definitely, but
I have VR. Want to play VR?
NVR.
I have a question for everyone. This will be good. What is the oldest OS that you currently support actively for one of your customers?
Windows 7. Windows 2008. Sorry, Server 2008.
Any SBS?
Yeah, I'm sure.
SBS.
But he asked OS. SBS is.
I know.
We have some SBS 2008 and then SBS 2011.
Right, OS2 Warp.
Tim Fornet says SCO Unix 5.
Jesus Christ.
That's almost as old as the oldest one that we support. So you're getting there. This was, by the way, me bragging about a thing, so we'll get there.
I wouldn't say you're bragging about it. You're more of complaining.
I'm actually, yeah, no, it is definitely a complaint.
Yeah,
so,
this is
I
absolutely.
wouldn't be proud of that, honestly.
Yeah, so we have multiple AS400s, which are not actually as old as.
AS400s.
Yeah, they're not actually as old as
Unix.
Unix
A couple,
4.5.
but we don't support them.
We do. One of them is in our data center network in Iraq, and but the oldest thing that we support now, and I'm actually kind of impressed at this, is we support an open VMS VAX, legitimately, like from the 70s. It's a little nuts.
How many vacuum tubes did you have to replace last year?
It's virtualized, and here's how it's virtualized. You ready for this?
Yes,
it is
please.
virtualized on a Windows 95 box running virtual, some sort of virtualization tool that was available in like the late 90s for virtualizing those kind of boxes, OpenVMS. And that also is a VM running on top of a Server 2003.
So nested virtualization.
So you don't get to complain about automating.
Oh my!
I do.
Hold on, whoa! You can't complain about the plugin, the virtualization manager plugin.
Look, we inherited this setup, all right?
So that
nested
old
virtualization on Server 2003.
Yeah, and it was Windows Virtual Machine, I think is what that tool was called.
It's actually a VMware or something like that, I think. That runs specifically the Windows 95 box to
like
then run the emulator for the SCO or something like that. I thankfully haven't had to directly touch anything other than the OpenVMS box, because people were like, how do I do this? And I was like, well, I used one in high school. I guess I'll take a stab at it.
Do you have any idea what that actual old thing is running?
Well, absolutely. So it runs their entire
software.
business. I wish I was kidding.
Software.
It's not actually. It's insurance software.
It's like something like it's something important.
Yeah, it's insurance software. They do not actually have a replacement, which is the worst part. It's not like, oh, this is just an archive system. Like, it is actively in use. They put data in it. We have to run maintenance scripts on it. It's super crazy, guys.
So what?
I never heard of Zoho. It's free.
You're an asshole. That's amazing.
Actually, a question I was curious about. We actually do have a customer that runs like nursing homes. They have accounting software that is extremely old and requires a DOS emulator to function. And we put our foot there. Guys like you, in order to run on multiple computers, you have to disable SMB2 and 3. Like, no. You're putting patient information on this thing. You got to be HIPAA compliant. Disabling SMB2 or 3 is not HIPAA compliant in any way, shape, or form. And we actually make them run off a terminal server, essentially, where everyone remotes in and access it, share data over a local disk instead of across the network. But one of the things I was considering and thinking about was, why wouldn't we just develop our own version of the software that's more modern? We know what the software does. We know why they need it, right? We can just recreate it on a web-based secure platform and just make money that way, become like a software vendor of sorts.
Yeah, but change is hard.
I was going to say, and if you don't have the expertise to build custom software, but you have customers that need it, you can also message me. We have a division for that.
So, Scott, why haven't you moved that customer off? If their entire business is running on something like that.
We inherited them 6 weeks ago. It's coming. Yeah, okay, I mean, like,
okay, fine, never mind.
it's coming. There's
the answer to my question.
There's a little more than 6 weeks worth of planning. Now, the more valid question would be, why haven't we moved people off the AS400s? Because we've had those for quite some time. And the answer to that is because I can't actually dictate what customers do. I can only strongly recommend it.
You can only not support it, is my answer to that.
It's the whole.
That's just counter to our thing. Like, remember you talked earlier about this, man. Like, sometimes you just got to let people do their thing, and they come back and they're happy, you know?
Yeah,
right.
It's like the whole managed service professional, or what's one of those. Well, really, it's like a trusted advisor. So if you can't give them a alternative that they have, same level of confidence in, that they've obviously had this system for years, they're going to be very, a lot of anxiety around that. So it's going to be hard to move them away from that. You're, new kid on the block, 6 weeks in, maybe 12 weeks in, you're going to recommend that they ditch this system that they've had for 10 years. Why is what you're going to say is going to make them change their mind after 10 years and stuff. So it's you almost have to like provide the value and the benefit. Provide the benefit of moving off of it.
Yep. No,
Because
you're
if this
100%.
dies, you can still continue to operate as a business.
Yeah, I mean that is actually a good argument. You know, in the case of this open VMS machine, we're actually moving them onto our software because it does everything that theirs needs to do, which is cool. But it turns out, and I don't know if you guys are aware, we don't have the greatest integrations in the world to begin with. And for some reason, we haven't written an open VMS migration plugin. I don't really know why. It seems like it's the most common thing in the world, right?
I've been in some pretty hairy, manufacturing clients in the past, and they do not like to spend on new. But I don't think I've had it as bad as some, line of business application running in a nested, virtualized environment. I'm even surprised that the application even works in it.
Me too.
Not just a nested virtualization, just virtualized. Period.
Yeah, no, it's a special software to virtualize the Open VMS specifically. Like that is its own thing. That's why it's the 95 machine.
Got it. Okay.
And I will say the other thing, you mentioned manufacturing. I don't know. Somebody mentioned earlier they have manufacturers too. We also have some 2000 servers that we still support. And by support, I mean they don't work in Automate anymore. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about it. But they run a SQL database that plugs into a Fox Pro app that handles all their inventory management, and we're rewriting that software, but it's taken us 3.5 years to rebuild because it was just such a convoluted mess. I mean, we're millions and millions of dollars into this project because it's just such a disaster. It's running on a version of Fox Pro that's not even supported anymore.
That sounds like a fun project.
It is.
The software that they had was a visual CRM and visual ER. There's another one.
So while everyone was pretty much done talking about work, we can play video games if you guys want. I can put up some Jackbox.
I gotta actually go and actually eat dinner because I haven't had anything to eat all day today.
You should have ate first, Mendy. You know.
10:40 at night.
Yeah, I have a specific person who is glaring at me to go play Fantasy Star Online 2 with her, so I'm gonna go do that. I
just want to take the time, everyone. Thank you for joining and interacting. It's been
We'll just end it. We'll just end it tonight. Go ahead and end it.
Great success.
Extend it.
I think.
Yeah, this is great. It's
okay,
great.
Dan.
It's been fun.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone stopping by. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us and learning and talking and all that good stuff. So,
and we'll announce the next one when it happens.
Yeah,
right.
we'll
Which
definitely
may or may
do
not
this.
start on every third Tuesday based off Martin's schedule.
Oh, I just named random.
Way to go.
weeks and
Martin's
days
gonna
there.
start it next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'm just saying it would be really cool if we just had a cadence of third whatever or what of the month.
Well, and I think that's a really good idea to have because I got lucky that I was available tonight. I mean, I remember seeing the announcement. I'm like, that'd have been great to know in advance. So
hey, we told you last week, didn't we?
Posted in advance.
Sorry, Dan.
Nobody invited
We
me
love you.
personally. The admin team did not all invite me personally, and I feel attacked.
Dan,
I feel attacked.
Dan, I will personally send you a text message, not even Slack.
Oh wow.
Yeah. All right. Well,
appreciate
on that
that.
note, I'm going to end the Zoom call. So,
for what it's worth,
That's it.
before you do, for what it's worth, I put a link into chat. If anyone likes Codenames or Teachu, it's a site my buddy's been making. It's free. Like there's no hook or anything. You're just welcome to use it and test it. It works really well. You can play Codenames with it. You can play Teachu with it. It's a good time.
Nice.
Throwing it out there.
all right.
Last thing before we do drop this.
I'm really tempted to hit the mute button.
I know. Mailon, yes, go ahead and reach out to me on Slack regarding the VM plugin stuff. Absolutely no problem.
Username Darren White 99. No.
Yeah, my username there is just Martin Kia. So
all right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodbye.